This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, we'll be talking about certain points related to SAP FICO again, which we discussed in the regular class during our weekday session. So this we will be talking from the fresh again in a different way with a different example. So this will be a new batch. Those who wants to continue in this batch from the regular batch, you can continue in this. There are no restrictions. But make sure that your doubts, whatever you have on the regular classes, you will not be asking here. Okay, see this batch as a new batch, and if you have any doubts on this batch you can ask, but your regular batch doubts I will not be clarifying in this. Those doubts I will be clarifying in that, so that we will not get distracted, we will not be deviated. Okay, so first point what we will do is, I'll put some prerequisites for SAP FICO learning. Let's try to understand what are certain prerequisites. These are not from any point. This is prerequisite from my side to make sure that you understand SAP in a right way. You will be practicing in a right way, and you will get into SAP in a right way. So that there is no way that you will get into a wrong way, or you will get deviated and you will do practice or any other thing incorrect way. So first point I will write basic accounting. Second point, basic. Others, please be on mute if you are not talking. Oh, from where it is coming? Second point is basic understanding of SAP FICO. Third one is basic understanding of business processes. And fourth point, I would say interest to make a career in SAP. I'll write why I'm putting these points as prerequisites. First one, when you talk about basic accounting, when you talk about SAP FICO, it is all about accounting. Okay, SAP FICO is all about accounting. Whatever we do in SAP FICO, it's pure accounting. There is nothing new in SAP FICO. Whatever accounting we do on SAP FICO, the same thing that you have to know from the basic accounting point of view, so that it is easy for us to connect what we are doing in SAP, why we are doing in SAP, how these things are posted, reports are extracted from SAP. If you are clear with the basic accounting understanding, it will make you understand SAP in an easier way, and it will help you understand, it will help you learn in a different way, that you will show that you have something different in you when it is compared to the other persons, especially when you go to the market. When you are in the market, either in your interview or in your organization or anywhere, make sure that you create some impact, that you know something better than others. Whatever others know, it is something that everybody knows, but you have to create an impact what else you are aware of, which others are not aware of, which others are not strong with. You need to make sure something you will create an impact that makes you separate from the others. For that, you must begin from basic accounting. If you are good at the basic accounting, if you try to understand basic accounting, it is easy for us to understand the entire SAP FICO, as it is completely dependent on accounting. Second one, basic understanding of SAP FICO. When I say basic understanding of SAP FICO, before you start learning, in general, whenever we talk about learning SAP FICO, we straight away get into SAP, we log into SAP, we start configuring the system like company code, chart of account, whatsoever we will be configuring without even knowing what it is and what we will do from SAP FICO. First, we must know what it is all about SAP FICO, what happens in SAP FICO, what you will do as a FICO consultant, how job market is in the market. All these points, if you are aware of it, then it is going to help you out what exactly you have to do and how you need to practice, how you need to prepare to become a consultant in the upcoming 4 months or 6 months, whatever the timeline that you have. Straight away, if you feel that I've joined the course, I'm practicing the SAP FICO, I'm attending the classes, things will not work in your favor. When I say things will not work in your favor, I mean if you straight away start configuration without knowing why we are doing, how we are doing, is it the same thing that you will be working when you're in a project? It is not going to help us. Even though you understand SAP FICO, even though you're able to do the configuration, we will not be able to get the job. We will not be able to clear the interviews. We will not be able to talk or communicate confidently with the other persons. So these kind of situations we should not face going forward. For that, unless you are clear with what it is all about SAP FICO, it is not recommended that we start learning SAP FICO. So we must have the basic understanding about SAP FICO. And next one is basic understanding of business process. When I talk about basic understanding of a business process, first we need to understand what is a business, what happens in a business, how an organization, how we will do any business. If I'm talking about any business, if I talk about any business, first we need to understand the intention of doing any business. The main intention of doing any business is to make profit. The whole idea of doing any business is to make profit. Now, how profit is possible? You will be able to make profit only when you do sale. We will be able to make profits only when we do something called sales. To do a sale, you need a product or you need a service. Either you will be selling a product or you will be selling a service. How do you get product or how do you get service? Right? To get a product or to get a service, either you need to purchase it or you need to manufacture it. Either you need to purchase a product to sell it or you need to manufacture a product to sell it. Either to purchase or to manufacture, you need something called money. That is where you talk about finance. If you end at this point or if you start at this point, that is more than sufficient for our level of understanding with respect to SAP FICO. You need to do business to make profit. To make profit, you need to do sales. To do sales, you need either a product or a sale. To get a product or to get a service, you have to either purchase it or manufacture it. Either to purchase or to manufacture, you need money. For that, you are dependent on finance or accounting. This finance and accounting is the base for any business. If you do not have money, you cannot do any business. With money, you will be planning different things. You will be performing different activities related to various components of an organization. That we are not focused as of now because it is not relevant for our FICO course. Now, from the finance, what exactly you will do? Okay, from finance, what exactly you will do? In finance, you have different classification like accounting and costing. Accounting is nothing but financial accounting. Costing is nothing but cost and management accounting. In your SAP, we are calling it as SAP FICO. FI is a separate module which is all related to financial accounting. It is used for your external reporting. Based on the financial accounting, you need to adopt one accounting principle or accounting standard. Based on one accounting principle or based on an accounting standard, you need to prepare your financial reports on a monthly basis and you need to publish this. These are external reports which will be circulated to the external stakeholders or the shareholders and the external parties like banks, the different other auditing and all. They will be requiring your external reporting based on a predefined or based on a globally accepted accounting standard or accounting principle. On the other side, when you talk about controlling or cost and management accounting, in the controlling or cost and management accounting, this is a pure internal reporting. In the internal reporting, what you are doing, how you are managing your cost, how you are managing your budgets and all, this is purely internal. These reports are not published externally, or these reports are not provided to the external parties. This is purely internal business activity to make sure that you are having good control or good command over your cost, where your money is going, how the money is going, how you are planning your money. It is all about your controlling or your cost and management accounting. This is all about your finance related activity, which we will be understanding as part of business process. Lastly, we need to understand, we need to have interest to make a career in SAP. The reason why I have listed this point here is most of the people will learn SAP FICO, but majoritarily there will be dropouts in SAP FICO. When I say majoritarily there will be dropouts in SAP FICO, there are different reasons for it. When I say there are different reasons why people will drop out from SAP FICO, point number one, they may not be practicing in a right way, or even though they practice in a right way, they realize later on that the way they practiced is not correct, or the knowledge that they have is not sufficient, or they complete the course, they do not know how to approach or how to proceed to search jobs in the market. Even if they find the jobs in the market, they will not be able to clear the interview, and if they want to go to the market with an experienced candidate, they do not know how to manage the experience, and they do not know what topics to prepare and how to prepare. If somebody is asking a question, how to talk, what to talk, there are many points that we will not be clear with, and there are many areas where we need guidance until you get into a job. SAP FICO is not something that we learn SAP FICO course, we complete SAP FICO course and we get SAP FICO job. This is a pure impossible activity. Very rare you will get the results in this approach. You need guidance right from the beginning until you get a job. Only then it is possible for somebody to get into SAP as a consultant. Otherwise you will learn SAP FICO, your course will get completed, but you will see the actual picture only when you are in the market with your resume. When I say this, we will create a resume. Normally, when we create a resume, what happens? We do not have a clarity how we have created our resume, what points we are mentioning in our resume, whether we are clear with the points that are there in your resume or not. Next one, if you are talking about experienced candidate, because there are two ways in SAP. Point number one, we can go as experienced candidate. Point number two, we can go as fresh candidate. In short, the fresher into SAP. If you are going as experienced candidate, you must represent experience on SAP FICO. If you are showing experience on SAP FICO, make sure you are clear with what you have written on your resume. Whatever the projects you have listed, you must have a clarity on it. Make sure you are able to explain your project and your activities in that project. In short, whatever the points that you are listing out on your resume, make sure your resume is your personalized information, not generalized information. Majoritarily, what we will do, we will take resume from somebody, or we get a resume from some other sources, like 3-4 resumes we will see. We will see that, okay, this resume format is looking good. I am trying to project 4 years of experience. This resume is also of a 4 years of experience. This is suiting my criteria. We will finalize one resume, we will start editing the resume, which is a big mistake. You are editing the resume, but what exactly we are editing on the resume? We are editing the name, contact number, email ID, and then the name of the organization. Project we may be keeping the same as it was there in the source resume that you received, and the list of activities that were mentioned under each project, we don't even care to look at it. So what we will do, we will create resume in this way, and we will start uploading resume in different job portals like Naukri, Monster, LinkedIn, different portals. We will upload our resume, and you may be receiving the calls based on your resume. But when you receive the calls, we are not clear on what is there on our resume. We start preparing for the interview in a generic way. When I talk or when I say that we are preparing for interview in a generic way, what we will do, we will try to understand what questions are asked in the interview. Let's say somebody is asking you questions from automatic payment program, BRS, or some other topics. We will try to prepare only on these points in a generic way. That is always correct. But you have to keep in your mind what is your experience, what is your resume, what projects you are showing. Are you able to connect all these areas that you have prepared in a generic way to your personalized way? When I say personalized way, are you able to connect all the points that you have learned or all the areas that you have knowledge on to your personalized resume? Which means if you're talking about your resume, let's say you have mentioned three projects: one implementation project, one support project, one rollout project. Are you able to explain what did you do in your support project? Okay, point number one. Are you able to explain what did you do in your support project? What was your role in your support project? What kind of tickets you got in your support project? What is the business process of your support project? Similarly, if you talk about implementation project, for which client you did implementation, which version you implemented, what was your role in the implementation, from where you were part of that implementation project? Is this ECC implementation or is this S4 HANA implementation? If it is S4 HANA, what exactly you did in the project? What was your role? Is it that you did everything on your own or there is a team? If there is a team, what is the size of your team? How many members were there? How many FICO consultants are there? If you are the only one, how did you manage everything? If there are 2-3 FICO consultants, what was your role among the 2-3 FICO consultants from the project? Okay, did you face any problems, issues during your project? What kind of documentation you prepared? In short, what exactly you did on your project? On the other side, if you're talking about any rollout project, what was the client to whom you did the rollout? And what was your role in the rollout project? What activities you performed? All these points we have to learn, we have to prepare in a personalized way, which means if somebody is asking you, make sure you're able to talk and you're able to relate everything to your experience. Whether you really worked or you have not worked, it is always immaterial, it is always a secondary. But when you talk, make sure the other person feels that you really worked on it. So this is what I mean when I say you need to have interest to make career in SAP, because most of the people will have interest to learn SAP FICO, not interest to make a career in SAP FICO. There is a huge difference. Because seriously, some of the people will try to join SAP FICO course just to give a try. If it works out or if it doesn't work out, I'm fine with it. I just wanted to give a try. I just want to give a try. Let us not give a try. Let us hit for sure that you will become a consultant. This is what I mean when I say you need to have interest to make a career in SAP. Make sure that you personalize everything to your experience. If you are going into the market with 4 years of experience, target 6 years of experience. Because in the market, there are different reasons, there are different points that you need to consider. Anybody who is going into the market with 0 to 5 years of experience, when I say 0 to 5 years, 0 to 4.11, if your experience below 5 years, whether your resume is talking about 0 year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, the treatment is the same. Whether your resume is talking about 0 years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, the treatment that you get in the market, the kind of work that you will be doing, the kind of work that you will get assigned is the same. In short, majority of the cases, anybody who is having less than 5 years of experience is like a entry level in SAP, is like a fresher in SAP. Because it's fact that everybody will have to accept, without experience nobody will get into SAP. Most of the organizations, most of the companies want people who are having experience on SAP FICO. Unless you get an opportunity, you will not get any experience. But the point here is the logical point, you have to think it from the other side. I'm just asking you to have experience. I am ready to take you if you tell that you are an experienced candidate in SAP FICO. I just wanted to hear from you that you have experience in SAP FICO. I don't care what kind of experience it is, whether it is genuine experience or projected experience. I'm least bothered about it. I don't even care about it. But according to my requirement, for me to shortlist your profile, for me to take your interview, for me to offer a job, for me to take you in my project, I want you to represent as an experienced candidate. I am not concerned about what kind of experience it is. Highlight this. I'm not going to consider what kind of experience it is. I just wanted to hear that you are an experienced candidate. That is only the tag that I want to see from your side. So make sure that you have that tag. You are an experienced candidate. When you are showing that you are an experienced candidate, make sure you are able to justify your experience, not by way of documentation, but by way of knowledge. Do not justify your experience by way of documentation that is anyways available in the market. Okay, justification for your experience is always there in the market. Nobody can even find out that what kind of experience it is. You have proper support available in the market for it. So which nobody is bothered about. Everybody is concerned about if you are talking about 4 year of experienced candidate, whether you are sounding like 4 year experienced candidate or not. When I say you are sounding like 4 year of an experienced candidate, when you talk to me or when you operate the system, I need to make sure that okay, you have experience. Give me that feel, that's it. Whether my feeling is correct or not correct, it is immaterial. You are least bothered about my feeling, but make sure that I get a feel that yes, you have experience, you have knowledge on system. But I should not get a feel that I think he or she is not experienced or did not work on system before. I'm not supposed to get that kind of situation, or I'm not supposed to get that kind of a feel or opinion when you talk, when you work. Do not try to give this opinion, this intention to the other person, especially when you're in the interview, especially when you're working with somebody. These points can easily be figured out when you're talking, when you're operating the system. Let's say the way I move my cursor on the system can tell you that what kind of experience I have, what kind of a confidence I have. If I'm confident, whatever I want to go, straight away I'll go click what I want. If I do not know, I will be searching everywhere. My cursor moves 360 degrees on the screen, but it will not stop anywhere. It will not click anywhere. And I'll be, switching between the different tabs. I'll go here, I'll go to this screen, but I don't stop anywhere. It's easy to find out whether you have experience or not experience. You don't even need to talk. Right? The way you behave, the way your cursor moves on the screen can easily tell that you have experience, you have confidence or not. Right from the minute points, we need to start, we need to pay attention so that tomorrow you're not leading or you're not leaving any lead or any point for somebody to say that no, I feel that this candidate is not experienced before, this candidate is not confident. When you talk, when you work, let us not give that opinion to the other person to come to a conclusion that you may not be experienced, you may not be skilled, you may not be knowledgeable. It is in your hand how you are going to project your skill set. If you are able to project your skill set in a proper way, automatically the other person feels that yes, this candidate is working nicely, this candidate is having interest to learn, this candidate is putting his or her effort. That opinion we need to create. For that we need to put efforts collectively from the beginning. You need to see everything considering that your job, not your interview. Do not target your interview that anyways is going to clear, because your interview is just a 30-minute activity. You don't need to work for it. If you sit and prepare for 1 month, 100% you will clear your interview, but that is interview based knowledge. But tomorrow when you join any organization, you have to sit in front of SAP for 8 hours a day. So your target should be managing 8 hours a day in office, not managing 30 minutes in your interview. That is anyways possible. That is anyways you can achieve it. If you attend 3-4 interviews, you will come to know what they're asking, where you're going wrong. You can automatically rectify it. But tomorrow, once you're in a project, once you're in any organization, every day you have to spend 8 hours in the office. You may have to talk to the users, you may have to talk to the clients, you may have to experiment on different things that you are aware of, that you are not even aware of. You may have to give presentations, you may have to give this status to your project manager or somebody. Target these kind of points, keep these points in your mind, and accordingly we need to work. Do not say it from the configuration point of view, if you see it from the configuration point of view, what we are doing right from the beginning is wrong. If you are learning only the configuration, it is sure shot that we will not be able to get job in SAP FICO. Even if you get job in SAP FICO, we will not be able to perform. We will not be able to sit confidently, not even a single hour in the office. If somebody is calling you, you start getting nervousness. Why they are calling me? What will they ask? If you have to talk to your client, again you have to feel nervous. What he will ask? If you get any ticket or if you have to work on any other area, if somebody is calling you, if somebody is asking you, tell me about yourself and all, we will get into unnecessary nervousness. This is quite common for everybody because nobody thinks about these points until and unless they join an organization. Nobody will not even consider these points while preparing, while learning SAP FICO. In fact, this is what you need to consider to learn SAP FICO. That is the only reason you have joined, or anybody will join SAP FICO course, not for the learning of configuration. Reason why I'm talking this, if our intention is to learn SAP FICO configuration, we do not have to pay money, we do not have to learn SAP FICO, we do not have to join anywhere. Because configuration is a freely available content in the social media. You have different sources through which you will get configuration documents. In fact, you will get configuration document from official SAP itself. But you need to understand what is the business requirement, why we are configuring like this, and if you configure like this, how system is behaving. If I have a different requirement, if I want to change the system behavior, what modifications I need to do, whether my requirement is possible in SAP or not. If possible, how do I change configurations? If not possible, how am I going to bring my requirement into SAP? How you are going to tweak standard SAP system, or how you are going to make modifications in the standard system. These points is something that we need to understand, which means you need to understand the difference between standard system or the standard configuration plus the customization. There is something called standard SAP and customized SAP. Standard SAP is something, if you do the standard SAP delivered settings, it will start working on its own. But when you talk about customization, whatever the standard system that you are able to see, that is not meeting your requirement. That is quite common. Every organization will have customization. We need to understand what is customization, where we will be doing the customizations, how you will do customizations, what tools you have to do customization. In short, you will have something called rise of object or rise of elements. You have standard configuration, plus to make any changes in the standard configuration, standard SAP system behavior, you need to make certain modifications using rise of object or rise of elements. We must be in a position to identify, okay, this is standard system behavior, or this is SAP standard. This is not SAP standard. We need to customize this. So make sure we are able to segregate the differences like this, and you are able to talk confidently to your client. If it is possible, not possible, if there is a solution for it, no solution for it, how you are going to come to a conclusion, how you are going to convince your client, how you are going to convince the other person who is putting a question to you. Now these points we will be learning slowly, and these points you will be understanding when you are practically working on the system. But it does not mean we have no experience, we have no need to learn this. In fact, if you are not aware of these points, it is very difficult to get a job in the market. Anybody can easily find out that you are a trained candidate. So your intention, your target is again another point. When you talk to somebody, let the other person not realize, not feel that you are a trained candidate. Even if you tell that you learnt SAP FICO recently, the other person should not believe. That should be your target. Do not give any opinion, any feel when you talk or when you explain anything. The other person should be under an impression that you are a trained candidate. Okay. So that is what we mean when we say interested to make a career in SAP. Once we are clear with these points, next thing what we need to do is we need to understand certain basic points related to SAP. When you talk about SAP, everybody will talk about projects. When you talk about SAP, everybody will talk about project. The moment you talk about SAP or SAP FICO, somebody will talk about how many projects you have done. People will ask you how many projects you have done. Then we need to understand what is a project, what kind of a projects you have, what you will do in a project. In general, we are going to talk about implementations and we are going to talk about rollouts. Next one, support, and then migrations. We need to first basically have a knowledge about what is implementation, what is rollout, what is support, what is migration, and what will be your activity in this. You need to always personalize everything. It is fine even if you do not know what is implementation project in detail. Nobody wants to know whether you have knowledge about implementation project in detail or not. Because you are not becoming a project manager to know complete information about implementation project. If you are going to manage an implementation project, yes, you need to know complete implementation project, methodology, everything in detail. But we are going to become a FICO consultant. As a FICO consultant, you are going to be a part of an implementation project. You are not leading the implementation, you are taking part in the implementation. If you are taking part in the implementation, as a FICO consultant, what will be your contribution to the project? So you need to restrict this to SAP FICO and restrict this to your level of experience. That is your first target, not to know about the implementation project. Because you have to see practically, you are going to become a consultant, not a project manager. So if you wanted to become a project manager, you need to know in detail about implementation, what happens, how implementation happens, all this point, scratch to bottom. But our intention is not to become a project manager. So you are not supposed to know the in general information about implementation. That is what the mistake most of the people will do. They try to know what is implementation project, but we will never relate this implementation project to your level of experience for your projects. Because everybody will put a question to you, what did you do in your implementation project? What was your role? From where you involved in the project? Nobody will ask you, tell me about implementation project, how implementation happens. Nothing is a generalized question. Everything is a personalized question in your interview. When we know that it is a personalized question according to your experience, when you're learning, when you're preparing, make sure you're also personalizing it to your experience, to your profile, so that you will understand the intention of your interviewer, why they are asking these questions, what they are expecting from you. If we do not personalize when we are preparing, later on we will have to realize all these points. At that time, preparing, repairing will take a lot of time, right? And similarly, when it comes to rollout, nobody is going to ask what is rollout project, what happens in rollout. Nobody is interested in it. Again, you are not going to manage the rollout project. You are going to take part in the rollout project. When you are going to take part in the rollout project, what will be your role in a rollout project as a FICO consultant? What exactly you will do in the rollout project? Again, relate this to SAP FICO. Similarly, support project. Again, you are not going to manage a support project. You are not going to manage the overall client and all. You are going to take part in the support project. You are going to extend your service or your support to your client. Again, with respect to SAP FICO. Again, with respect to SAP FICO, how did you support? How did you manage your day-to-day activities in your FICO module? These points we need to understand. Similarly, migration. This is not mandatory because migration projects are new in the market. Again, here you need to know how we will be migrating from ECC to S4HANA or within S4HANA from one version to the another version. These points, if you are able to understand, if you are able to personalize with respect to SAP FICO consultant, when you talk, the other person will never get any doubt that you do not have any experience. They get a doubt only when you talk about in general. That is the mistake that most of us will do in our interviews, especially. Whatever the question we get, we tend to answer in general in such a way that the interviewer can feel that okay, he's talking about everything. Instead, we have to be on dot that this is what is your question based on my experience or in my previous assignment, in my previous project, this is what I did. Because you are projecting or you are talking as if that you have some experience, you worked on certain projects as a FICO consultant. You're supposed to talk your experience in the interview. I am more concerned about your experience, what did you do in your previous assignments, instead of your generic knowledge. If I am focusing on generic knowledge, I am fine with recruiting a fresher also, because fresher candidate will also understand in general about everything. But why I am focusing, why I am stressing only on the experienced candidate, because you practically know what happens in the implementation project, what is expected from you as a consultant. This is the only reason why people want experienced candidate. Okay, once we will be discussing in detail about each of the projects, what we will do exactly in it. After knowing that there are these kind of projects, next thing that we need to understand is role of SAP FICO consultant. What exactly you will do as a FICO consultant in any project. Now, most of us, we will be thinking or we will be talking about configuration. Most of the times, when you talk about SAP FICO or SAP FICO consultant, whatever it is, the first thing that strikes our mind is configuration. The moment you ask what will you do as a FICO consultant, we will tell configuration. Now, configuration is not only the role or is not only the activity of a FICO consultant. There is a big list that you will be doing as a FICO consultant. From that list, configuration is just one activity. Now, this configuration is also not straightforward. There are a lot of prerequisites, there are a lot of checkpoints before you start configuration. You need to first understand the business requirement. For you to understand the business requirement, you need to interact with the client. For you to interact with the client, you need to face the client. You need to either meet client face to face physically in their office or in your office. Otherwise, you may have to meet the client over a team meeting, maybe video conference calls or audio conference calls. Make sure you are able to put questions to your client or whatever the requirement expectation that your client is talking. Make sure you are able to understand what is their business process, what is their expectation. Based on that, ensure that you are able to document their business process according to your understanding. And this business process document, whatever you are preparing based on your experience or based on your understanding, you will be able to share it with your client, get it acknowledged or get it confirmed by your client. Yes, this is what we have discussed, or this is what is my requirement. Once you make sure that this is the requirement from the client, that is when you are going to do the config. Okay, if you do not know the business requirement, if you are straight away doing the configuration, this is going to create a problem, because on what basis you will do configuration? Is it something that you have a study material of your previous training, or you downloaded a lot of materials from the Google from different sources? Tell me which configuration you have. I have 10 different configuration documents. You will end up getting confused. Each document will talk about configuration in a different way. When you see 2 or 3 different materials, 2 or 3 different notes of any configuration, these 3 will never be same. Configuration document by A will be different, configuration document by B is different, configuration document by C is different. Now you're not going to follow A, you're not going to follow B, you're not going to follow C. Instead, you are going to create another configuration document with your name. So make sure you are not going to refer, you are not going to follow any configuration document, because tomorrow you have to prepare one with your name. You will be the author of the configuration, you will be the content writer of the config. So do not copy from the existing config documents. Try to understand the requirement. Based on the requirement, see how you are able to config, whether you are able to think to do this configuration or to do this business requirement. These are the steps that I need to do. Are we able to think from that point of view? Are we able to see from where I need to do the config, what settings will make what impact or not, is what we need to understand, we need to validate. And this is a continuous learning that you need to validate throughout your SAP learning. Even when you get a job, even when you're working, you need to continuously learn it. It is not that 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months you will understand SAP. You will get to know how to work on SAP based on this 4 or 5 months training. The practical things you are going to understand only when you work in a practical project. Because if you take a simple object, if you take a simple business process, and if you compare two projects or if you compare two clients, if you say accounts payable for example or accounts receivable for example, the same accounts receivable, SAP is common for you, SAP is common for me. The way I configure, the way you configure is the same setting, but my requirement is different, your requirement is different. You may be making certain modifications according to your client requirement. I may be making certain configuration changes according to my client requirement. Why I did like this, I am aware because I interacted with the client, I understood the business process. And why you did like that? You have to be in a position to tell this is what the requirement. Based on this requirement, this is how we did it. If you are unable to explain the requirement, but you are able to explain the configuration, this configuration knowledge is never going to help you get a job. It's never going to help you to manage your day-to-day client requirements or your project daily activities. If you are depending only on the configuration, that is not going to help us anywhere. This is practical reality that we have to realize at the beginning itself. Even if you do not understand the configuration, even if you are getting errors while doing the configuration, this is all trial and error. When you do it 2-3 times, you will get to know. Let's say I am getting A here. Now I need to make this A to B or small to capital, capital to small, whatever it is. Nobody is going to tell you that I will give you only one attempt, complete this. This is not going to happen anywhere. I will tell you what needs to be done. I want this capital A to become small a like this. And how you will do it, I don't care. I will tell you that this is what I am giving you. Please give it back to me, making capital to small. If you know about it, you will do it immediately and then you will give me. If not, I am fine with it. But I told you my requirement. I want to make sure you understood my requirement when you deliver it. Maybe after 1 hour, after 1 day, after 2 days, after a week, deliver to me whatever is expected from me. Whatever I explained to you, please deliver only that part to me, because when you configure it, it is always offline. Your configuration is always offline. When I say configuration is offline, whether you look at any material, you will do the config, or you ask somebody to do config on your behalf, you share your screen to somebody else, they will monitor what you are doing. Whatever you do, whatever the option method you adopt for your configuration, it is purely offline. Nobody is going to bother about it. Everybody wants to see the result. Nobody is concerned about whether you did whole night out to do this configuration and all. I don't care. Nobody is even going to appreciate you for your configuration skill set, knowledge, T code, path. Nothing is going to work out. Nothing is going to create any impression for you, because they will simply say that, even if you say that there are no documentation, or I'm not experienced on this area before, they will simply tell you, even your project manager will tell you, your colleague will tell you, your lead will tell you, Google it. They will simply tell you, Google it. You will get the configuration documents from the Google, download the documents, refer the content from the open market, do it. Nobody will tell that you should know the configuration. It is openly known fact to everybody. You are not aware of everything, and but make sure, if you get a requirement, if you get a situation where you need to work on certain things which you are not aware of, you must be in a position to work independently, gather the information, experiment on your own, achieve the result. You cannot say that I have no experience on it, please I don't assign this to me. That is not the consultant work. If that is the thing, that is called as end user work. You are working everything based on the standard operating procedure, user manual. You are able to do everything on a daily basis, repeated work. That is end user work. As a consultant, your work is based on the requirement. As a consultant, your work is based on requirement. When you talk about configuration, no requirement, no configuration. What will you configure? How will you configure? Why are you configuring all this? What will happen with this configuration? How do you know whether your config is right or wrong? You have to put a lot of question marks when you talk about config. First thing, what configuration steps you will execute? How do you decide? And why are you doing this? What is your requirement? Let's say you did configuration. How do you validate that your configuration is right or wrong? Do you have any test case? Do you have any scenario to be created to ensure that this is what you have created, this is what is your requirement, and it is working as expected? If you are unable to test your configuration, if you are unable to justify what you have done with a result, with a practical result containing the financial implication or the business process or the accounting impact, that is of no use. That is not going to work out. That is not going to help you anywhere if you are blindly configuring. Okay, so configuration is just one of the activities. Apart from configuration, you need to make sure business process understanding. You must know how to understand the business process and basic accounting impact. What is happening from the finance point of view? How this is affecting your financials? What is the impact on the P&L? What is the impact on the balance sheet? Whether you will be able to extract or see this data on any report or not? These kind of implications, these kind of points you need to keep in your mind with your configuration. Next one, documentation. What kind of a documentation you are going to prepare as a consultant? There is a big list of documentation that we need to prepare. What is that list of documentation? How these documentations are prepared? Because tomorrow you have to prepare all these things. Next one, trainings. Now you are getting trained. Tomorrow you have to train your users. Now we are unable to get it trained properly. We are unable to learn ourselves properly. Tomorrow you have to make sure you will conduct a training session to the end users, and the users will have to understand based on your training. The user will have to tell that whatever the training that so and so consultant is giving is clear, we are able to understand. Now you are giving a training, your end user is telling no, we are unable to understand anything. The consultant is not answering our questions. Whatever the confusions, queries that we are asking, your consultant is not able to answer. They will simply tell please replace the consultant. They don't even say anything. They will simply tell our users are asking certain questions, doubts, confusions. Your consultant is unable to answer. Because the user, when they are asking the questions, their questions are business related, process oriented. Now, when you are giving training, you do not think that they do not know SAP. They are going to ask you questions not only from SAP but from their business process. They are going to bring points from their day-to-day business processes. Let's say one user is asking you a question related to invoice processing. And now you are providing a training on accounts payable invoice processing. You are going to tell for invoice processing, you need to go to XYZ transaction code, open, put vendor code, account, your posting date, your invoice date, reference amount, expense account or whatever the account, purchase order number, whatever. And you will tell that okay, you simulate it, you save it, document will get posted. Is it the practical thing that happens on a daily basis when user does? No. There will be different errors. User will ask you why we need to put invoice date. What if I put future invoice date? If I put past invoice date, if I try to post last month invoice date in current month, will system record this in current month or last month? Then why posting date is there? If I put invoice date last month, if I wanted to check last month invoices, will I get any report like that? You may get crazy questions like this. Right? If it is something related to straightforward, we don't even have to think about it because you can anyways handle simple straightforward scenarios. Whatever is simple, whatever is straightforward, we have to ignore it. Whatever the situations that will come into your way where you will be stuck, that is what you have to understand, how you need to tackle, how you need to manage those scenarios. Somebody may be asking you questions like this. You are supposed to answer all these questions because You are the one who is representing SAP FICO consultant position, and you are the one who is conducting the training session. And when you are conducting a training session, maybe 10 users attending or 20 users attending, maybe 30 users attending. And along with the users, there may be people like your finance manager is attending, the subject matter expert is attending. They will try to put different questions. And make sure we are able to answer their questions, we are able to convince them with our answers. If we are unable to answer these questions, the kind of impression that they get is very negative. They say that your consultant itself or the consultant, they are only not aware of how system is working, they are unable to answer our queries. We are not sure that the training is successful or the training is going in the right way. Our users are complaining that they are unable to understand anything. This information, this kind of a feedback will go to your project manager. Nobody will tell you anything openly that we are unable to understand. They will tell, okay, very good, excellent and all, but the feedback will go to your project manager stating, we are not happy with your FICO consultant, please replace. And your project manager might come and ask you that how training session is going on. You will tell, excellent, very good, everybody is appreciating me and all, because you do not know what is happening in the offline. Somebody would have raised a point to your project manager stating, we are not happy with your FICO consultant performance. And this project manager will not tell you that I received an email. They will casually talk to you about how things are happening and all. And then slowly they will reveal that this is how we got the feedback. Then client is not happy with your performance. We are moving to another project, or I am releasing you from my project. These kind of points, these kind of situations you may have to face if you are not strong. When we know these kind of situations are possible, the way you prepare, the way you understand system right from the beginning in a different way. Assume your job only. Don't keep your interview in your mind. Keep only your project in your mind. If you are working in a project, how you are going to manage. When you talk, make sure the other person is convinced. That is the only target. Configuration and all you can learn offline also. But if you understand the requirement, that requirement will take you to the result automatically. You have something in your mind which you need to achieve. You are doing some configuration, you are getting some error. Now you have this requirement in your mind. If you go by the requirement, when you start configuring it, if you are unable to get it, you are facing errors, you don't even feel to sleep, your mind keeps on thinking on it. Why I'm not getting this? Let me try like this, let me try like this. Your mind starts thinking on SAP. This is possible only when you go by the requirement. If you're not going by the requirement straight away, if I'm talking about accounts payable, your mind is thinking from the accounts payable config itself. Create vendor account group, number range, assignment, business partner, vendor creation, invoice creation, credit memo creation, payment creation, down payment creation, report extraction. Everything will work fine perfectly without any error, because there is no prerequisite, there is no checkpoint in your list, which means the starting point is not there in your flow, the ending point is also not there in your flow. Whatever you do without starting point, without ending point is useless. I'm openly telling it is useless. Whatever you do is of no use. You do not know why you created it. Let's say you created vendor account group. If I ask you a question, why did you create this vendor account group? I don't know. You created vendor account group, let's say ABCD. Why did you take ABCD? I do not know. You created a number range, let's say 3 series. Why 3 series? I do not know. You took vendor number, let's say 8 digits. Why did you take 8 digits? I do not know. You created a vendor. Your vendor name is talking about, let's say XYZ. Why did you put XYZ? Do you find any company in the market with XYZ? No. Then why you created with XYZ? Address you did not fill up properly. Do you find any vendor without address? No. Why your vendor does not have address? You created an invoice. Okay. You posted a debit credit. You posted a value. On what date you posted? Let's say you posted January month. Why are you posting January invoice in July? Is this the practical situation? I do not know. You posted invoice amount, let's say some 5,000. Why did you assume that it is 5,000? What did you purchase according to you? Let's say I purchased something related material. Then did you debit material account? No, you debited some other P&L account. Is there material P&L account? No. Why did you debit P&L account? I do not know. Did you assign profit center to your vendor account? Yes. Where did you assign? Show me. I do not know. You assigned profit center to the expense account? Yes. Why did you assign profit center to expense? Why not cost center? I do not know. If you practically see points like this, most of the questions you will be having an answer. I do not know. I do not know. I do not know. But end of the day, you have created accounts payable config, you created vendor, you created invoice, you are able to show me the report. But if I ask you questions, why? For most of the questions, the standard answer is I do not know, I do not know, I do not know. Let us not have this standard answer, I do not know. Give an explanation to each and every question. You are the one who did configuration. You are the one who is supposed to tell why you did that configuration. You are the one who created the vendor, and you are the one who is supposed to answer why you created that vendor. Okay, if you are the one who posted the invoice, you must be answerable. Why did you post that invoice? When you know all these things, you are practicing left and right, that is fine. Then it is called as you are playing with the system. But if you do not know why you are doing all this, straight away you started playing with the system. Here we are not playing with the system, we are playing with our career. This 3 months or 6 months, whatever the time that we are spending, is not going to help us. Right? Whatever we do, we need to make sure we understand why we are doing it, at least to some extent. In one go, it is not possible for us to understand anything, but at least to begin with, to start thinking, to strike different equations, different points in our mind, make sure we think in a different way right from the beginning. Because overnight, all of a sudden, our mindset will not get tuned to think in this way. It's new for everybody. If I am in your position, I will also find it difficult. I will also find it something weird. This is looking like I saw SAP FICO is very easy. Everybody told me it's very easy. But the same person who is telling you SAP is very easy, check whether that person is working as FICO consultant or not. We tend to believe people who are not working as SAP FICO consultants. This is very unfortunate. Somebody will tell you don't learn SAP FICO, it is very difficult. The person who is telling you is not a FICO consultant, but we tend to believe this person. The person tells you that it is very difficult, there are no jobs in the market, there are no calls in the market. Is that the person who is arranging the calls in the market? He is the operator of SAP FICO calls? No. We tend to believe him and then we start feeling low, we start getting nervousness. Because we do not know anything, we do not have clarity, whatever you fear, whatever you hear, you feel that this is fact. So imagine what kind of a situation, what kind of a mindset we have to become a FICO consultant. All these points will matter a lot making a career in SAP FICO. It's not only about config. It is not only about learning SAP FICO. It is about learning different points beyond your SAP FICO. Because the intention is only to learn SAP FICO, we can learn it at free of cost. To be honest, if you want to learn any topic on SAP FICO, you will get on every topic, you will get a video on YouTube. Somebody or the other person would have made a video on it with end-to-end configurations. If that is only requirement of learning SAP FICO, you have all the sources readily available for free of cost in the market. Knowing that the content is freely available in the market, we are still paying money, we are still investing the time, which means we have to think, we have to realize why are we paying money for which there is already a free content on the market. So it is something that we have to feel, it is something that we have to realize. And our intention here is not to learn configuration, our intention is to learn how things are happening. At least if you get that idea, if you get that knowledge, that is more than enough. That is what people expect from you in the market. Whatever is expected from you in the market, when you sit in front of an interviewer, make sure you adopt those qualities, you prepare on those criteria only. Okay, you need to create a trainings and then you need to provide support. When I say we need to provide support, let's say somebody is already working on SAP, let's say a client is already working on SAP for last 5 years and you are providing or you are in the support project, your client says we are working from SAP from last 5 years or 7 years, we are not feeling that we are benefiting or we are utilizing SAP completely. Whatever we were doing from last 5 years, we are doing it the same thing as on today also. There may be a lot of changes in the different processes that we are using. We may have to improve the processes. Now you may get an assignment stating this is what the current business process of your client. Please study the current business process, propose the improvements wherever possible. Wherever you can create the business impact, your project manager only will tell you. Study the current business process of the client, come up with the improvement areas where we can improve the client system, which processes are currently having issues, or what new processes we can suggest to implement to the client. As a consultant, if you are working in this kind of environment, if you are getting these kind of things, you should not say I do not know, everything is working fine now, why again changes? Your client wants the changes, they want to improve the system, they want to add a new functionalities, remove the manual interventions and all. You must know what needs to be done at least in that situation. Similarly, the roles and authorizations. When it comes to roles and authorization, tomorrow if you are working as a FICO consultant, you will be dealing with SAP FICO area, finance and costing. First, you should know what is finance, what is costing, what areas we have in finance, what areas we have in costing. Let's say from finance you have accounts payable, receivable and all. Let's take a simple example of accounts payable. In the accounts payable, it is something like your user is having or your client is having 5 users. There are 5 end users in accounts payable and you need to create a role for it. How you are going to create roles and authorizations for accounts payable? How many roles you will create as a FICO consultant? We cannot say this is basis activity. If you say this is basis activity, you will be out of the interview the next minute, because basis consultant is dependent on you. Based on your input, basis consultant is going to create roles and authorization. You are supposed to provide the input. How you will provide the input? Only when you understand the business process. How you will understand the business? Only when you talk to the client. How you will talk to the client? Only when you know how the process works. If the initial step itself is blank, you cannot go and talk, because we will be blank at every stage, because we do not know what needs to be done, because our mind is fully loaded with configuration. Ask me the T code, ask me the path, I am ready to tell even when I am sleeping also. That is of no use. Let's say from the accounts payable, we need to understand basic business processes. Let's say somebody who is creating a vendor. In the accounts payable, it's all about vendor. Who will create vendor? Can any user create a vendor? No. If every user is not creating the vendor, how do you make sure only a selected user will be able to create vendor, the other users will not be able to create a vendor? You need to control it via authorization or roles. How do you control using authorizations or roles? These points we need to again understand. Let's say one user is creating an invoice, another user will have to make the payment. Otherwise, if I am creating the invoice, I am only able to make the payment, then it is a big mistake. Your auditor will catch you and he will tell that where is the control point that the person who is processing the invoice will not be able to initiate the payment or release the payment. Now we need to understand, and now these kind of points when raised, your consulting, your client will tell that we cannot answer this question. I will arrange a call or I will arrange a discussion with my technical team or my SAP team. You may have to get into a call with your client or the auditor, whosoever. Then they might ask you, can you tell us what control points are built in the system to avoid certain mistakes? What checkpoints are there? You cannot say I do not know, because you are the one who is working on SAP FICO. You are supposed to know all these points. If you are telling that I do not know, then it sounds very bad. So we need to ensure there are a lot of points beyond configuration. What are those points? How you will work? Where you will work? At least to some extent, if you are able to know what is what, that is more than enough. People are not expecting you to have experience on it. People are expecting at least you are aware of it. If you are talking about configuration, first impression that your interviewer will get you is you are a trained candidate. Because to be honest, if you test with any people, you ask somebody what is accounts payable, see what answers you are getting. Majoritarily, everybody will tell you the configuration. Majoritarily, everybody will talk about configuration steps, T code and all. But if this is the situation in the interview also, we will tell the same thing, configuration and all. But your interviewer does not want to know the configuration. If they want the configuration, they will clearly ask you, tell me the configuration steps for this particular process. Their question will clearly contain configuration term. If the question does not have configuration term, they are asking the business process. Include the configuration while explaining the business process in such a way that the other person will get impressed with your explanation, but not straight away onto the configuration. Okay, how you are going to create roles and authorizations, and then you have to understand the difference between ECC and S4HANA. When I talk about ECC and S4HANA differences, don't go technically what is there in ECC, what is there in S4HANA. Be very specific from your FICO point of view. It's all secondary, that anyways you will come to know later on. When you talk about ECC to S4HANA, don't straight away go Google it, difference between ECC to S4HANA. That is technical changes. From the business process point of view, what changes are there? This is what you have to understand. Okay, let's say if you talk about accounts payable receivable, in ECC you are creating vendor customer directly. In S4HANA you are creating customer vendor based on the business partner. But any settings are changed from ECC to S4HANA with respect to vendor customer, any business process changes, accounts payable the way you use it in ECC, accounts payable the way you use it in S4HANA, are there any changes? There are no changes. Then what is changed? Nothing is changed. Just business partner is added. Apart from addition of business partner, whatever you did in accounts payable, you are going to do same thing in accounts payable S4HANA. You are going to call business partner only while creating the vendor master. Once your vendor master is created, you nowhere use business partner. Now we are calling it as vendor in S4HANA. You have business partner. Do you have any report for business partner? No. We don't have any report for business partner, but we are understanding in such a way that in ECC we have vendor, in S4HANA you have BP. In ECC, when you create any invoice, you are going to give vendor code. In S4HANA, when you create any invoice, you are still going to create a vendor code. You are still going to provide vendor code. In ECC, you are going to generate vendor line item report. In S4HANA also vendor line item report, FBL1 in there, FBL1 in here. From business point of view, nothing is changed. Except the addition of a BP concept, nothing is changed. It is exactly the same. What you are using in ECC, the same thing you are using in S4HANA. There are technical changes in the backend, how and where data is getting stored in the ECC table, and where the data is getting stored in S4HANA table. And there you will tell that there are different tables. In S4HANA, you will tell AC Doka. If you remember AC Doka, more than enough. Tell whoever is asking, everything will go to AC Doka. Your answer is correct. Your answer is correct. Then if they tell what are the other tables in ECC, you tell BK, BKPF, BSEC, BSIK, BSAK. The same tables are still there in S4HANA. Then what is getting changed? Nothing is getting changed practically. There are certain technical changes from the backend, SAP org structure point of view, SAP database point of view. You're not going to go into that technical detail. For our level of experience, for our work style, it is not needed. That is the technical part. The ABAP consultant will need to know about all these points. For this, you are anyways going to provide the logic. When you're working on it, practically, you will anyways come to know this. You don't need to know before it. Even if you do not know, even if you do not want to know this, when the situation comes, when the work comes, you have to know this. Automatically, situations will make you understand, situations will make you know different points unknowingly. You will get to know so many things while working. But for you to make sure you are able to work, you are able to adopt things, you should have the basic fundamentals in a right way, so that you will think in a proper manner, you will do your experiments, you will do your practice, everything in a proper sequence. Otherwise, we will have to struggle. For everything we need to depend on somebody. Either you need to ask somebody, or you need to Google it, you need to YouTube it, you need to find a material. This dependency, as much as possible, we have to eliminate. First, depend on yourself, your understanding, your skill set. If you are able to understand, if you are able to depend on your skill set, you will be able to do anything. But straight away, if I ask you something, straight away we are going to Google and then ask it, Google will tell 10 different things. On what basis you are going to open, on what basis you are going to do that this is right or wrong. That is again dependent on your requirement. If you are clear with your requirement, whatever you are Googling, whatever you are searching on the internet, you will be able to figure out, okay, this is related to my query, this is related to my scenario. If it is not, how we are going to adopt that this is correct, this is not correct? To be honest, Google will create a lot of confusions. Google will complicate your problem. It will not resolve your problem, it will complicate. Because in SAP, when you get any error, we tend to put that error message and we search in the Google. But the fact is, for the 10 different errors, the same error message is displayed on SAP. This we are not aware. You get same error message, same error code for 10 variety of issues. For 10 variety of issues, SAP will give you only one error. And now when you go to Google, the solution may be related to one of the 10 reasons. Now your requirement is one of the 10 reasons which we are not aware. Whatever Google says, go to this T code, remove this, put this, enable this, disable this, we will blindly do it. And even after doing the changes as suggested by Google, your problem will still exist, or your problem is not getting resolved because we are not clear with the requirement. We are not understanding why the error is coming. Error is coming while doing something. What is that something that you are doing? We will not try to understand what we are doing. In short, what the user is trying to do. Errors are commonly faced by the end user. First, we need to understand what end user is doing. There are many ways, there are many situations where user will do mistake. He may be trying to do something which is not configured at all. That process is not configured. Your user is trying to do it. It will not work unless you make the settings related to it. But how do you understand that this functionality is configured or not? Only when you understand what they're doing. Otherwise, you will see everything as data entry. But your data entry is classified as business transaction. Don't see as data entry. Don't see it as a transaction. See it as business transaction. If he's doing invoice, what kind of invoice it is? You have different types of invoices. If it is purchase order related invoice, if it is a direct invoice, invoice is related to asset, what they are purchasing in the invoice. Is it straight away or they are trying to add any additional points in the invoice? If you are not understanding these points, it is not possible for us to understand what exactly we need to do. This is where most of us will commit a mistake. This is where we majoritarily ignore. But this is what we have to capture. This is what we have to understand. If you are clear with the requirement, you will automatically do everything on your own. Because things will not allow you to sleep. Things will not allow you to do any other thing. They keep on poking your mind that what is the solution for this? Unknowingly, you will be working on system. Unknowingly, you will be thinking about it. Because it is there on your mind, the requirement is in your mind, that will take you to the solution automatically. But if requirement is not there, we tend to take it easy. Like, I'll check on the Google, I'll check with somebody, I'll check with me, or I'll check with somebody. Everybody will ask you another question, what is the requirement? This is another fact we need to keep in your mind. You are facing a problem, or you need some advice or suggestion on something, you need to ask somebody. Even if you wanted to Google it, you have to type something. Google cannot read your mind. Even to Google, you need to type what is your problem. Make sure you're able to explain your problem either in words or in talking to somebody. If you ask me, I cannot understand, I cannot read your mind, what is your problem? Tomorrow you're working in a project, you have a requirement, but you're unable to find a solution for it. Let's say you thought that I may be aware of it, I may be able to give you some suggestion or solution on it. You may call me or we are talking to you. I will also put the same question, what is the problem, what is the requirement? You have to explain to me the requirement. Before you get the problem answer, first you understand the problem, you understand the issue. If you are able to understand the issue, solution comes automatically. Because to get the solution, you have to have the clarity on the problem. But we try to ignore this. We only remember the question of the problem. but you don't try to understand, evaluate what is that problem, what they are doing, where you are getting it. Everybody will put the same question, what is the requirement? Tomorrow, if you wanted to ask your project manager, your colleague, your senior, anybody, they will ask you the same question, what is the requirement? If you're able to answer, this is what the client requirement, and this is what I have done, I am stuck here. Then the other person can understand, okay, this is the process, this is the requirement. Accordingly, you will get the suggestions. Without knowing the problem, without knowing the exact requirement, if somebody is giving solution, please know that whatever they are talking is not going to help you. How can somebody give you a solution without knowing the problem? But we try to feel that somebody told me a solution even before explaining the problem. That is our misunderstanding. Right? These points you need to understand, and when you are in a project, especially when you are in projects. When you talk about project, this can be any project, implementation, support, rollout, what you will be doing as a FICO consultant when you're in a project. Everything you need to exclude configuration. Whatever you talk about SAP FICO consultant, exclude configuration. Try to list out the activities apart from config, what you are going to do. The moment you say configuration, the first impression that anybody will get is you are a trained candidate. Don't give that impression to anybody by talking configurations. Okay, don't give that impression to anybody by talking configuration. If you're talking configuration, especially in your interview, the opinion that forms in the other person is negative. Everybody will get a negative opinion formed the moment you start explaining the configuration for all my questions. In the interview, I will specifically ask you to tell me the configuration steps. If I'm not asking the configuration steps, I'm expecting something else. The process, your client requirement, the activities that you did, this is what I want to know. But we end up telling configuration for everything or definition for everything. So ignore the definitions, ignore the configuration. Apart from these two, what else we can talk about the topics? Okay, so this is what we need to understand. You need to have a clear clarity about what you're going to do as a FICO consultant. Make sure this is not your only activity. This is not the only activity. You will do various other things. Apart from this configuration, the other points in the project as a FICO consultant, next one, basic accounting. You must be very good at basic accounting. It's not enough if you know debit credit, but you must be in a position to understand it. When I say you must be in a position to understand it, make sure when you are configuring any new business process, you are supposed to explain about this business process, how this will work in SAP. Maybe to the finance manager, when you're talking to any new functionalities, any new improvements and all, you're not going to talk to the end user. You're going to talk to somebody who is above the end user. Maybe SMEs, maybe managers on that particular areas, they will be interacting with you. They don't want to listen to your configuration. They don't want to listen to anything related to SAP point of view. They want to listen to everything from business point of view. When you're talking about the process, according to the client, you are a person who knows SAP point, you are the person who knows business point. In short, the accounting. I want you to convert the SAP terminology into accounting terminology and convey, make me understand. If you are talking to me in the SAP language, if you are asking me questions in the SAP terminology, as a user or as a client, I am not going to understand. I will simply tell that I am not into technical domain. I do not have any technical knowledge. Please talk to me in the basic, simple accounting language. Tell me what do you want, what you want me to do, what you want me to provide. This is how I am going to talk to you when you're talking to me as a consultant. Because practically I do not know what configuration you're talking about, what is needed for you, which I can provide you. You have to ask me whatever information that you need to set up any particular functionality. For that, you must talk in the accounting language. The common language between you and your client is accounting, not SAP. SAP is just a mediator. SAP is just a mediator. The common language, common communication between consultant and the client is accounting. Alright? Accounting is my requirement. I am using this accounting in SAP. To bring my accounting into SAP, I need a consultant. That is why you are recruited as a FICO consultant. Basic accounting, when you talk about, first you must know the debit and credit. You must know what is debit, what is credit, and you must know accounting rules, and you must know accounting cycle. Okay, so first, when you talk about accounting, your accounting is entirely based on debit and credit. Without debit, without credit, there is no accounting. First, you should know what is debit, what is credit, how do you debit, how do you credit, why do you debit, why do you credit, what do you debit, what do you credit. Put all kind of permutations, combinations to strike different question marks in your mind. Why debit, how debit, on what basis you are debiting, on what basis you are crediting. Everything will lead to a question, and try to make an answer for it. You don't need to explain it to anybody, but these are all the self check points. And something called accounting rules, because accounting is based on accounting standards. Accounting is based on accounting standard. You cannot do accounting on your own. I cannot do accounting on my own. So accounting is something which is governed by some law, which is nothing but accounting standards. If you are in India, you may be following Indian accounting standards. If you are in US, you may be following US accounting standards. Indian accounting standards, I may say based on Indian Companies Act. US, I may say based on US GAAP. In any other country, that country's respective accounting principle or the respective accounting standard. But everything will work based on the common accounting rules, right? When you talk about accounting rules, this is something related to golden rules of accounting that everybody studied during the academics. We have something called personal accounts, you have something called real accounts, you have something called nominal accounts. Initially, if you refresh one time, going forward, when you're writing the accounting entries, when you're posting the entries, for you to practice any topic in SAP FICO, you need to post a debit credit. You take any topic, let's say you're configuring the GL. After configuration, to test whether it is right or wrong, working or not, you are ending up posting a transaction. Debit one account, credit one account. Which account you are taking for debit, which account you are taking for credit, we need to know. Why you are taking this account for debit, why this account for credit, we don't even apply 1 second to think about it, because in our mindset it is tuned in such a way that this is all end user activity. In our mindset it is tuned like this is end user activity, we will not do it in real time. Who told us that? Did we see this practically, that end user only will do data entry, consultant will not do it? Before you hand over anything to the end user, you must know how to post it. Before you hand over system to the client or the user, you are the one who is going to test it first. You are going to post a transaction first to test. If you do not know how to post a transaction, tomorrow you have to make an end user understand how to post a transaction in SAP by way of providing training session, which means you must be good at end user activity also. You need to see it from end user activity, but not the complete end user activity, but to the extent which is required. Because you need to keep in your mind, your intention is not to become an end user, but you need to provide a training to the end user. To that extent, whatever you need to know, only to that extent you need to know. You need to know the limitations of everything, to what extent you have to go in the end user activity. Beyond that, you are not supposed to go, because your intention is not to become an end user. Your practice should not lead, your practice should not be in such a way that you are preparing for an end user interview. But unfortunately, what we will do, you will do configuration one time, you will post 10 entries. You will create one company code. Your company code creation or whatever the process creation is, config, you will do one time, and you will end up creating 10 invoices. Who will have to create 10 invoices? The person who wants to become an end user will create 10 invoices. But our intention is to become a consultant. Your focus is on the configuration. Why you configured it, how you configured it, how it is working, where the impact is going. This is what you need to verify. Instead, we keep everything aside. We post different invoices. different vendors. This is something to be practiced by an end user. This is something related to a person who wants to become an end user. In fact, for an end user, no training is needed. When you join an organization, your company will give you the training for free of cost. They will give you the recorded videos, or they will give you the predefined user manuals or standard operating procedure. Right? Which means we have to have the clear understanding of what we need to do, how we need to practice, which way you need to adopt. Only then it is possible, because the time is very less. Within 4 months, if you want to learn everything in such a way that the other person will not feel that you do not have any experience, the way you do things, the way you learn the things should be extremely different. It is not something that you see in the outside. You have to prepare in a different way. Your approach, your strategy should be different in such a way that the other person can feel the difference in you. If the other person is not realizing, if the other person is not feeling any difference in you, it is of no use. According to them, you are also same, I am also same. So I don't need to think that whoever is coming for less cost, I will take them, because according to me, you both know the same thing. There is no specific quality, there is no specific point that I can figure out that based on these points I wanted to pick this guy, this candidate only. Those points you need to deliver, those points you need to make the other person realize. But these points will come only when you keep configuration outside of your mindset. As long as configuration is in your mindset as a FICO consultant, you will end up becoming a normal person, one man in the group. Nobody can identify where you are. Make sure you will be an odd man, that wherever you are, the other person can figure out, I want this candidate. Right? For that, first thing that you need to do is keep configuration aside. See it configuration from a different point of view. Unless you know the business requirement, don't even try to understand what is the config for it. First, focus on business requirement. After that, you look at the configuration, then your configuration is going to add value. Otherwise, it will remove the total value of your profile. Okay, now these accounting principles, these accounting rules we have to understand. Next one, we need to understand accounting rules. When you talk about accounting rules, what do we mean by accounting rules? We're talking about personal account, real account, nominal account, any debit, any credit. In short, every journal entry is posted based on personal account, real account, nominal account. We will expand all this. Next one, accounting cycle. Whether it is your academic or whether it is your organization, the accounting cycle remains the common. In general, first point what you have is business transaction. First point is your business transaction. Unless I know what happened, I cannot write the journal entry. Even if I know the accounting, if I do not know the business transaction, it is not possible to record the accounting entry. Based on the business transaction, you will be recording accounting entry or journal entry or journal voucher. Normally, in most of the organizations, they use this term, journal voucher. They call it as pass the JV, pass the JV. We all assume that this is journal entry. That is not journal entry. They are referring to journal voucher. Whenever you must have heard pass a JV, we post a manual JV to clear it. The manual JV is nothing but journal voucher. In short, accounting entry or journal entry. Based on the journal entry, you are going to prepare ledger accounts. Based on the journal entry, you will be creating ledger account. Based on the ledger account, you are going to prepare trial balance. Based on the trial balance, you are going to prepare profit and loss statement. After profit and loss statement, the final one, you are going to create balance sheet. This is the final point that you are going to derive in the accounting cycle based on the balance sheet. You are going to decide whether your accounting is correct or not based on these 3 points. Based on these 3 points, you are going to identify whether your accounting is correct or not. These 3 points are called as financial statements. These 3 points are called as financial statements. In short, if you take any organization, don't think about SAP. If you take any organization who is doing a business, at the end of the month, every business wants to know whether they made profit or not. Every business wants to know whether they made profit or not. For knowing whether they made profit or not, they need to prepare their accounting. Accounting is always dependent on your accounting cycle. This is irrespective of the accounting application that you are using, whether you are using SAP, Oracle, Tally, JD Edwards, any other point, it is immaterial. Because you need to prepare the accounting. This is the legal requirement of any organization. We are talking about an organization which is legally registered or which is legally authorized to do the business. Now what they need to do, they need to record every business transaction in the accounting according to the rules and regulations provided by the respective accounting standards, either based on Indian accounting standards or IFRS accounting standards. What they need to do, first they need to look at the transaction. Based on the business transaction, they will record a debit credit entry. Based on that, ledger accounts will be prepared. After that, trial balance is prepared. After that, P&L is prepared. After that, balance sheet is prepared. This is the monthly requirement of every organization. Whether it is a small startup company or a big level 5 company which is operating all over the world, it is the same approach, it is the same thing that they need to follow. The way they follow the accounting will not get changed based on the size of the organization, because this is based on the localization or based on the legal requirements. Every organization must follow the rules and regulations, because your accounting is subject to verification. Your accounting is subject to verification by way of auditing. You have two types of audits. One is internal audit, the other one is external audit. Every organization will have internal audit team to make sure the accounting is happening properly. There are no misusage of the accounting. Nobody is posting the entries in a wrong way. You are able to track everything, whatever is happening during your accounting. And at the end of every year, you are going to have external audit. Whatever the financials that you prepare will be audited, will be reviewed by a third party auditing firm, an auditing company. They will verify your accounting, they will approve it. Without a third party, in short, without any auditing firm confirmation, your financials are invalid. You must have an audit firm seal and signature on your financial statement. Only then it is a valid financial statement. Now to do this, if you are using SAP, you must produce the reports from SAP. In short, for at the end of every month, you have to prepare financial statement. We must have heard people talking that I am busy with month-end activity. Especially those who are working in accounting, they will frequently use this term called I am busy with month-end activity. When we talk about, or when somebody is telling I am busy with month-end activity, what are they doing in month-end? They are going to work on these 3 points: trial balance, P&L, balance sheet. Now, if you are a FICO consultant, if any problem which is faced by a user during their day-to-day business process, during their monthly closure, during their quarterly closure, during their year-end closure, during their auditing, or any other area, the first point of contact for your client is you, which is FICO consultant. Okay, the first point of contact is you as a FICO consultant. When they talk to you as a FICO consultant, nobody wants to hear configuration from you. Nobody wants to hear configuration from you. Everybody wants you to talk about business process. Everybody wants you to understand the business process. Configuration is your personal activity. It is your personal area. As a client, I have nothing to do with your configuration. I don't know what you do it, how you do it. Make sure that my expectation, my requirement will be accommodated in the system. For which, how configuration you do, I don't care. I'm least bothered about your configuration. If you tell last night I did not sleep, only full night I worked and all, it is still not working, I don't care. If it is not working, it is not working. I am going to tell you are incapable. You are unable to deliver the things on time. I am going to share a negative remark. Then I am going to put another question stating, if you say that I am working, it is not coming, then I'll put how all other companies are working on this. Sometimes these kind of questions also you will get from your client. If you are telling that you are unable to resolve this, then how other clients are working on this, how other companies are using this. It is not something that we are alone working on this kind of requirements. We alone are posting like this. Different companies may be posting. You have an experience, right? You worked for different projects before, you worked for different clients before. How in your previous projects, how your previous clients were working in these kind of situations. Sometimes your clients will tell you, can you please check how these things are handled in other clients, because you have access to other clients also, right? As a consultant, you would have seen different clients. Can you tell me how this was handled in different other clients? Sometimes your client also will tell you, can you please check with your seniors and help me out on this solution fast? Because we feel that end user is not aware of anything. End user or your client is more smart than us. They're more smart. They will also Google it. When they're getting any error, we feel that they are sending a ticket to us and we Google it. Before sending to us, they will also Google it. This you have to know this. Your end user also will Google, because most of your end users are SAP dropouts only. Most of the end users are people like who learned SAP FICO, who could not get job in SAP FICO, they become end users. Because those who are working as normal users in the domain as accountant whatsoever, they wanted to become a consultant. They would have learned SAP FICO somewhere, maybe sometime back. Due to some situations, different factors, they could not get into SAP as a consulting. They switched back to their original job like end user whatsoever. They are also aware of all the points. They know the solution. I am getting this error, I need to make this configuration is missing. Because end user is not authorized to do any configuration, they are forced to send an email to a consultant. So we should not feel that, okay, this is a simple error, I will take 2 hours for it, I will take 1 day for it, I will deliver it tomorrow. So we will be at a negative impression when we do it. Because sometimes your end user or your client also will put a question, why these small issues are also taking long time to provide solutions. Because our mindset is supposed to be matured enough to handle the client in such a way that you do justice to the experience that you are projecting. If you are going as 4 year of experience, make sure you handle your 4 year of experience, you are doing justification to it. The other person should not feel anywhere with your blunder mistakes. Unknowingly you are doing something that is acceptable, but simple points purposefully, wantedly we should not do. Okay. So at the end of every month, every client will prepare TB P&L balance sheet. Now point number 1 that you need to remember, right from the beginning, even before you log into SAP, you must know that you are able to check trial balance, P&L, balance sheet from SAP. Unfortunately, more than half of the people who learnt SAP FICO, they would not have seen these 3 points on SAP. More than 50% those who complete SAP FICO course, if you ask trial balance, P&L balance sheet, they will tell I have not seen on SAP. Somebody is telling I completed my SAP FICO, I am in search of SAP FICO job, or somebody might say I am working as SAP FICO consultant, but I did not see trial balance. I don't know how trial balance comes from SAP. I don't know how P&L comes from SAP. I don't know how balance sheet comes from SAP. Imagine their level of knowledge. And those are your competitors. If you are aware of all these points right from the beginning, you will no need to compare you with your competitor. You will be always on the upper side. You will always be on the other side, where you will be always segregated, you will be treated differently. Otherwise, it will be very awkward situation when somebody is asking, have you seen trial balance on SAP? You are telling no. Basic fundamental point, you are all from accounting background. We are all from accounting background. We all know accounting is incomplete without a balance sheet. Balance sheet is incomplete without P&L. P&L is incomplete without a trial balance. Trial balance is incomplete without ledger account. Ledger is incomplete without journal entry. Journal entry is incomplete without business transaction. Business transaction is incomplete without configuration. Configuration is incomplete without business requirement. Everything has a dependency. If you're not able to see it from a proper point of view, you will not understand what is happening in SAP, even though you have 10 years of experience in SAP, because you are not able to find out the dots, you are not able to connect the dots. If you are not able to connect the dots, you will not be able to understand. Every time it sounds fresh for you. But in fact, when you are growing, when your experience levels are going up, you need to make sure things are getting simplified. You are able to understand, you are able to realize why we are doing all these things. That is where you are seeing that you are improving, you are learning, your skill set is going upward. Otherwise, you will feel that earlier when I was practicing, I know everything in SAP FICO. I did GL, AP, AR integration and all, but I'm working for 2 years in SAP FICO now. Now I forgot everything. It's so bad that you are saying that when you are learning, you learned different things, you remembered everything. After starting to work on SAP FICO, you forgot everything. Many people will tell this. Because we take it easy. When you get into a job, we take it easy. Whatever you work, you try to learn only those areas. It is fact, many people who work as SAP FICO consultants will revise, will read what is company code, what is chart of account, what is configuration. They also prepare like you for interview. Not sure how many of you are aware of this. Those who really have experience on SAP FICO, they also prepare like you only. You are preparing because you do not have any experience, you learnt it, you are preparing, makes sense. Somebody who worked on SAP FICO for 3 years, 4 years practically, they also prepare same like you. They also prepare same like you because they are just working for the sake of working. Right? When you know all these points, then you will realize that actually the competition in the market is very, very less. Most of the FICO consultants are recruited by compromising. I mean it when I say this statement. Most of the FICO consultants are recruited by compromising. I know your experience is not genuine. I know your knowledge is not up to the mark, but it is my requirement. I need somebody. I need somebody badly, though I cannot wait until I find somebody who meets my requirement. So what I see, okay, if you are able to understand at least the basic point of SAP FICO, I feel that okay, even with limited guidance monitoring, he can work, then I'm going to take you. When you know somebody is hiring most of the people by compromising, if you are giving a chance that you don't have to compromise, I have that skill set, I have that capability, you will be picked up blindly. Go with that confidence because your competition in the market is low level. Look at your competition in the market first, how your equivalent competitors are there. When you're competing, don't compete with people who are learning FICO like you. Compete with people who are working on SAP FICO practically. Target people with 6 years of SAP FICO experience and make sure if 6 years of SAP experienced candidate is attending an interview, you are also attending the interview, you will get selected. This should be your target, not that you learned from Ajay, somebody is learned from somebody, some XYZ. Person who learned from Ajay will get selected, or person who learned from SAP from XYZ is getting selected. Don't compare like this. Compare person who is working on SAP FICO for 6 years. Your target is a candidate who is working or who is holding 6 years of SAP FICO experience. Keep this point in your mind. Work in such a way that you are going to compete with a person who is holding 6 years of SAP FICO experience. He is your competitor. Don't think that I am learning and similar candidates I will be interviewed with. It is not like that. If there is a position, you are also going to an interview. Another person who is learning like you will go to interview. Another person who is actually working on SAP will also go there. If you are thinking from your point of view, then according to you, if there is a person who comes with practical experience, you are degraded, you get demotivated that okay, this guy only will get selected because he has genuine experience. But if you see on the other side, he is also like you. He or she may also not be knowing many things. They also may be limited knowledge. When you know the ground reality practically, accordingly you will prepare, accordingly you will get ready to face your interview or to build your career in SAP. When you know different points practically, it is easy for you to prepare in such a way where you will not face any problem in future. Okay, so make sure this point is very, very important, which we highlighted in green. Because if without a trial balance, everybody talks about implementation project. Now let me put few points. Everybody talks about implementation project. Now we all think that I don't have any implementation project. If I don't put implementation project, I don't get any calls. This is common point everybody will tell. If you don't put implementation, you're not getting any calls. Everybody is asking for implementation project. What do you do in implementation project? According to our knowledge, we do only configuration in implementation project. Again, you will come and end at the config point, because unfortunately we will roam around config only. Now in implementation project, you will get a question that what did you do in your implementation project? Those who are not talking, please be on mute. Okay, you will get a question, what did you do in your implementation project? Please do not talk about configuration. Okay, I think somebody is not on mute. Let me check. Okay, we should not talk about configuration. Apart from configuration, what else you are talking makes the difference in your interview. If you are talking about configuration, please be prepared that you are going to get rejected. Prepare mentally that you are going to get rejected if you are talking configuration. Don't wait, your HR will tell we will come back to you. You just leave the, after cutting the interview call, just mentally prepare that you are rejected. If you are attending face-to-face interview, you went all the way from your home to the office to face the interview. Interview is completed. You talked about configs everywhere. Don't wait HR to come out and then tell that we will get back to you. You can just leave the home. On the way, you will receive a call. We will get back to you. Half of the way you would have reached your home, but the same expected call you will get, we will get back to you. You must be in a position to decide the result from your side, whether you will get selected or you will get rejected. Don't let the interviewer tell you, the HR tell you, you decide. You are the one who gave interview. You must know based on your interview whether you will get selected or you will get rejected. At least your guess should be correct. Possibility or probability of your guess, yes, I'll get selected, no, I'll not get selected, should be correct. You have given interview, you have talked about all the points. Again, you are in a dilemma that I don't know if I get selected or not. Then you are not confident. Your interviews are not supposed to be like that. You treat your interview as your interaction, not interview. Somebody is asking a question, you are telling it. It is not like that. You treat your interview as doubts clarification session. Treat every interview as your doubts clarification session. Assume your interviewer is having some doubts in SAP FICO. And he or she is asking their doubts. You clarify their doubts. If they are convinced, it's okay. If not, there is another person sitting with their doubts. Go clarify some other person doubt. Don't treat your interview as interview. Treat them as your doubt clarification session. Go sit, let them ask whatever the doubts that they have and answer whatever you know about it. The way you ask me a doubt, the way I ask you a question, answer. The similar way you go and sit, let them ask any question, answer according to your knowledge. Try to convince them with your answer. If they are convinced, fine. If not, go some other person sitting in some other organization, some other company, asking somebody to clarify their doubts. Go clarify some other person doubt. Don't treat that somebody is asking me a question, I need to answer, I need to prepare. Don't create unnecessary confusions, unnecessary nervousness in your mind. Treat your interview as if it is a doubts clarification session. Go sit in front of them, relaxed, ask, let them ask any question, doubt that they have, you explain it. According to your knowledge, whatever you know, try to explain, try to clarify their doubt. If they are fine, it is fine. If not, go some other person is waiting to get their doubts clarified. The way you things should be different. So that you will feel confident, do things which will make you feel confident, which will make you feel comfortable. But things when you attend the interview, if you are not preparing in a proper way, believe me, you will not even dare to attend second interview. If you get the right candidate for your interview for the first time, you will not even have courage to attend second interview. You will literally sweat if somebody is taking your interview for the first time. If your training is not proper, if you have not prepared in right way, when you face your first interview, if you get the right interviewer taking your interview, you will not even dare to attend second interview. You will mentally decide that I will quit SAP. They will literally screw you like anything, asking different kind of questions to ensure that you really have an experience or you are able to talk. But believe me, if these kind of candidates you are getting, it's very easy to get selected. It's very easy to get selected, because their point is only to make sure that you do not have experience, you do not know anything. But if you are able to make them realize that no, you are not of that category, they will take you blindly. This is another reality. I'll be telling you different points when we talk about interview sessions, right from the way you need to introduce yourself until the way you need to talk about each topic. I'll literally talk and then show you. All right, I'll take one sample resume, I will take some sample profile, I'll talk about every point. I'll talk in 2 3 variations. I'll ask you, if I talk in this way, will you be convinced? If I talk in this way, will you be convinced? If I talk in this way, will you be convinced? Then I'll make you realize practically why you will get rejected in your interviews, what you need to talk, how you need to talk, why we are actually getting rejected. If you do not know all these points, we will never realize what mistakes we are doing in the interview, what exactly your interviewer is focusing. If you know that this is what is verified, this is what is focused in the interview, accordingly, if you prepare, it is easy for us to clear the interview. You don't need to think much about it, because your interview is just 30 minutes. Your interview is 30 minutes. Maximum for your profile, it is 30 minutes, not beyond that. Now you are learning course for 3 months, 4 months. After that, you are preparing for 1 month, 2 months. So your preparation more or less is around 4 to 6 months. Everybody will spend approximately 6 months to start or to give interviews, or at least 4 months. Your 4 months effort is not able to make you talk for 30 minutes. Then imagine the kind of preparation that we are doing, kind of efforts that we are putting in. Right? We are not even having courage, we are not even having the confidence to talk for 30 minutes with the 3 or 4 months of effort. So that should not be the situation. Don't prepare specifically for interview. If your intention is to prepare only for the interview, 1 month is more than enough. 1 month is more than enough to prepare for the interview, because in interview, it is not a system task, it is the oral task. It's a talk show. You need to talk and then clear your interview. I don't even know whether you really worked on it or not. I am only going to decide based on your explanation. If you are if you are able to explain properly, if you are able to put right points in your explanation, I am convinced with you. Because I know that configuration is a copy paste work. I will give you a document, you do this configuration, refer this document, refer this screenshot, in the same way you do it. I want you to do configuration by looking at a document. I don't want you to apply your mind, think innovatively and then configure. I don't want. Even if you say, I practiced it 10 times, I can blindly configure this. I will tell you, if required, please wear spectacles, watch with 4 eyes and then config. But don't do anything blindly. It is at that level you need to configure. When you're in a project, you need to look at something, observe carefully, in the similar way you configure it. Because if something goes wrong, it will have an impact. This is not a test server that you can left and right to do whatever you want. It is the actual server. When something is going wrong, you will not realize where the impact is going to hit. Where this will create a problem, we do not know. And we also do not know what we did, why we did. Because we tend to forget whatever we do. Because the way we practiced doesn't have any requirement. Blindly we were practicing, blindly we were making settings. The same approach will get addicted to you even when you are working in any project. we tend to configure, we tend to look at the system in the same mindset. So this mindset we have to change right from the beginning, so that whatever, whether it is a small or big one, the way you look at the system, the way you think about a problem should be different. So this approach, this mindset will definitely create a positive impact. Whoever is working with you, whoever is talking to you, will tell that you have good knowledge. And your target is to receive this feedback from whosoever when you are working, not even in your interview. Keep your target only your project. And keep in your mind, nobody knows anything, nobody knows everything in SAP. Especially when it comes to FICO, nobody knows everything. I am also not an exception to it. I also do not know many things in SAP FICO, but based on my experience, based on my level of understanding, I can get to the point, I can clear it or I can solve it maybe in short time. By the time you try to understand what it is, I may be resolving it. That is the only difference. But that point may be new to you, that point may be new to me also. But the way I am looking at it, the way I am thinking may be different. The way you are looking at, the way you are thinking is different. So we need to have a common thought process. That's it. If we have common thought process, how you need to look at something and how you need to proceed, there are only four ways. Let's say there are only four ways. Either of these four ways will give you the solution. But what we normally do, we go beyond these four ways. We start thinking from fifth way, which does not exist only. If you understand, if you are able to solve around 4 or 5 problems, you start developing a mindset that okay, these kind of problems are also there. I need to think like this, I need to think like this. Sometimes there may be no problem. While executing a report, while posting a transaction, you may not be ticking a checkbox. If you put that checkbox enabled, it will work. If not, it will not work. But if you do not know why these are used, we will end up wasting a lot of time Googling, asking many people. But you will end up getting solution very late, for which you should have given a solution immediately. Now this all based on the way we are thinking, this all based on the way we are looking at the system. So this approach we need to change from the beginning onwards, because later on if you add anything will create unnecessary confusions, not at that moment, especially going forward your confusions will get accumulated, and these confusions will lead to a situation where you will not be able to talk on any point, to talk about any point, to talk about anything. We feel uncomfortable, we say that I'm not prepared, we say that I'm still not confident. I know, but I'm unable to talk. I'm unable to explain because we are not confident. We would have done configuration, we would have done practice for 3 4 months, but still we are not having the confidence, means you are not taking that lead, you are not taking that initiative to put effort. Your end target is to get a job, but do we really have that much time? 1 year I can wait. I'm leisure to wait for 1 year to get a job? No. We all want to get job, we all want to get into the market, face the interview, clear the interview as soon as possible. For that, you need to put efforts also in such a way that there will be no rework. When you are going forward, make sure you are not coming backward to practice again from the beginning. This is another mistake most of the people will do. What they will do, they will complete the course and they will start again practicing. They will start from the company code, chart of account, fiscal year. They will do all the basic points. Again they feel that now I'm okay, again I will practice one more time. So they will not cross that boundary of basics. In the interview, nobody is asking you this basics. Whatever is expected from you in the interview, we will never practice that, because we are always focused on the basics, which is nowhere asked. You need to spend good time at the beginning on the basics. Your basics are supposed to be learned in such a way, your basics are the exact SAP FICO. When you post a document, you need to add all the criteria at the beginning itself. It is not that later on you will add non-leading ledger, later on you will add additional currency, later on you will add profit center. If you are adding everything later on in the middle, then you will not understand why this is used. You are seeing bits and pieces, but you are not understanding the importance of it, you are not understanding the purpose of it, because this is supposed to be created at the beginning, but you are creating at the end or at the middle. Then how you will understand why this needs to be created? We will never understand. You will understand the config point, but from the business point of view, why this is used, where it is used, we will not be able to understand. These kind of points, these kind of silly mistakes we should not do. This is a small mistake, but it will cost a lot for us. Later on, understanding these points, adopting different situations will make it very complicated, because you have to work on something called repairing. Repairing is very difficult task for you to fix it, because you have SAP in a different way. Now you are seeing SAP in a different way, and whatever the source that you are referring, everything will be in a different way, because I may be teaching you in a different way, I may be taking you in a different way, somebody else may be taking you in a different way. If you are following one way, make sure that you are not deviating in between. If you are deviating in between, then gone. It's you are opening the doors for all the confusions, all the dilemmas, question marks, which will never have the answer. Because first of all, we are not clear with our question. First of all, we are not clear with our confusion. When you are not clear with your question, when you are not clear with your confusion, it is not possible for anybody to answer your question. It is not possible for anybody to convince you, because you are not convinced with your question. You are not convinced with your clarification. Nobody will give you any convincing answer for it. So make sure you are not confused with your questions. You are going in a direction where you are able to understand, you are able to follow what you are doing, why you are doing. So when I say this, I want you to first 1 month, do not refer any other source for practice. Apart from what I am telling, do not refer any other source, and whatever the SAP FICO knowledge you have currently, park it, keep it aside, just park it somewhere. See, understand what we are doing for the first 1 month. Then I will tell you when you can openly use, or when you can openly adopt any source. I officially tell you that you can now watch any YouTube video, you can now watch any material, any document, where you will not get into any confusion, where you will tell that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I'll make sure you are able to decide that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And if you find I am wrong, I'll make sure that you will put a question to me that this is wrong, this is not the way we have to do. No rule that I should be correct every time. I may be also going wrong sometimes. When I'm going wrong, I want you to correct me. When you're going wrong, I want to correct it. It is like I am sharing whatever I know, and I am also learning from you. Right? For that, we have to be at a common page where our understanding is proper. Everybody is thinking from the business point of view. And I may be thinking in a way where I'm not able to explain it in a simple way. I'm not able to resolve certain problems, but you may be thinking from a different point of view. For you, it may be a simple task. If you do like this, it might work. If I do that, maybe it will be working. So that is how we have to do. We need to put efforts collectively. It's not that whatever I show you blindly do it. It is not supposed to be happening. Whatever I teach, whatever I show, in the similar way, you try to experiment on your own way. Take similar example, change the names, change the numbers, change dates. Try to experiment, try to play with it. If this is the requirement, how do I do it? If I do like this, what is happening? These things you need to practice. As many errors as you are getting, try to understand solution for each error. Why we are getting error? This error is because of what? Is this error because of configuration? Is this error because of data entry? Or is this error because of system technical error? Or is this user understanding problem? Not every error because of configuration, sudden errors because of config, sudden errors because of your master data mismatch, sudden errors because of incorrect parameters selected during the entry, sudden errors because your end user is not clear with it. The user discipline is not there, user is not understanding what exactly to be done. Every result, any of the reasons can be there for a problem. So don't blindly decide that a problem is coming, there may be a problem in config. First, you need to see what you are doing, what error you are getting. If you understand what the user is doing, the half of the solution you will get from there only. The problem itself will have answer in it if you see it from a different point of view. But we try to see problem as a problem. So that is why you are not able to understand why the issue is coming, where to check, how to resolve it. Make sure you are able to see any problem in a different way. Try to relate it to the business process. Automatically, you will get the solution. Clear? So make sure for the first 1 month, this is what you are going to do. Park it, follow and understand the same sequence flow that we are doing. Whatever the sequence, whatever the flow that we are doing, follow only this. Once we see the financial statement in the first 1 month, I'll explain you a complete business process. We will take one initial transaction list, the initial business transaction. We will record, we will understand the complete accounting cycle. I will show you trial balance, I'll show you P&L, I'll show you balance sheet from SAP before we start our actual configuration. Once you see TB P&L balance sheet based on the basic accounting, that is where we are going to start our configuration. That is where I want you to start your configuration. Till then, you are not going to start any configuration. I am not going to give you any assignment to do practice. Okay, once you have a clear idea, once you see the clear picture, okay, these are the configurations we are doing. This is how the masters are created. This is how entries are posted. This is how your report is generated. Once you see the full picture, you will have a clear understanding. You will form an opinion about accounting. You will form an opinion about SAP FICO. Once you see this, the way you look at the SAP will get automatically changed. So you automatically start thinking, why I am doing this? What is the requirement? How do I achieve this? So what is the test case? What is the business scenario for this? How do I test if it is working fine or not? You will get to know all these points in the first 1 month. So our practical learning will start after a month. That is where once you see the trial balance P&L balance sheet, from there you can open, you can view any YouTube channel, you can view any course content, you can view any source document, or you can verify with your experience, you can verify with your whatever the source that you have, verify what you are learning. Make sure that you are convinced. Wherever you feel that what we are doing may not be correct, you are free to suggest, you are free to tell that this may be wrong, we may have to do like this. I will tell you why we are doing like this. If you have any other options, if there are any other ways of it, we will also add those points. Clear? Alright, so we'll stop here for today. The remaining points we will be discussing in tomorrow's session. If you have any questions, you can ask now.
Hello.
Yes.
Sir, actually, the question is regarding the client is having ECC system right now, okay, and they require to shift it to SOH, that is the suite on HANA, and not to the S4 HANA. So, what is the benefit of shifting to SOH?
This I'll have to check and tell you the exact benefit of it. Suit on HANA. It's like they're not moving on to S4 HANA, they're just adding the HANA database onto it. This is what you mean to say, right?
Yes, yes. And the what will be the last date for this ECC support from the SAP end?
They said till 2025, but it'll get extended.
Okay, okay.
Hello, this is not a very serious. Hello. Sir, can you tell me about
Yes.
you, sir? Your experience, like, and
This we will have a separate session for the introduction. There we will talk about all these points. Okay, we'll
okay.
have a common session wherein we will have experience, the personal details about everybody. There we'll have that discussion.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Hello, good
Yes.
evening, sir.
Good evening.
Uh, Sir, my question is the upgradation and the migration project both are the same.
No, upgradation is nothing but you're already on. Let's say if you're on SAP ECC, you may be using ECC 6 and EHP 6 or EHP 7. You are moving on to the next level of it. That is your upgradation. You are upgrading from EHP 5 to EHP 6 or EHP 6 to EHP 7, from 7 to 8 within ECC. Now, if you are moving from ECC to S4 HANA, this is your migration. Now, within S4 HANA, you are on 1909, you want to migrate to 2020 or 2122. This is your upgradation.
Okay, sir.
And what's
Up,
conversion, Ajay?
Sorry?
Sometimes they prefer like this is like conversion from ECC to S4 HANA. It's the same thing like migration because I get
Yeah,
confused
same
sometimes.
like migration.
Okay, thank you.
and sir, suppose like as we know that during the India, the GST has been implemented on July 2017. So the every company who are working in the ECC, they have to implement the GST configuration. So may I know in what is the project name for this implementation of GST, like in which project it will cover?
If your client is already, see, if you're implementing SAP for any client, whether it is Indian client or any other client, taxation is a mandatory aspect. When we talk about taxation is a mandatory aspect, taxation is a statutory requirement or legal requirement in every country. Based on your sales, based on your purchases, you are liable to pay tax, or you're subject to collect a tax. So for every country, initially you need to do the taxation setup. If there are any changes in between, let's say, for example, in India, the sales and VAT or value added tax, sales purchase tax is converted to GST. Anything which is related to a country specific, this is called as localization. For these country specific localization changes, SAP will work from their side, and they will be releasing some SAP note, and they will be releasing the instructions manuals in such a way that the consultant is able to convert on their own, because SAP cannot step in and then they cannot convert or they cannot configure, make changes for every client. They will release notes to the consultant. These SAP notes are consultant specific. The consultant will have to follow the notes, which will contain the instructions if there are any configuration changes or program related changes. Accordingly, you need to migrate or you need to bring these corrections. So these points will be released by SAP.
Okay, sir. And
Ajay,
apart from the,
I have
yeah,
question like interview they ask the question why client decided to go on the greenfield or brownfield. What's the advantage and disadvantage? Why they deciding to go on the greenfield instead of the brownfield? That question arise on the interview. When I said like I'm working on the greenfield implementation right now. So what is the advantage and disadvantage that client is decided to go on the greenfield implementation instead of the brownfield?
See, if you are currently working on ECC,
Hmm.
okay, if your ECC system is stable and you don't find any problems or difficulties on the ECC system,
Hmm.
you are fine with your ECC system, the performance that or the processes that are configured. What you will do, you if you go for greenfield implementation, this is a cost effective. You'll have to pay more cost, and then the implementation takes a lot of time. It's again a fresh implementation, greenfield. So instead, what I will do, I will be migrating my data from ECC to S4 HANA, which we call it as brownfield implementation, wherein your existing
Okay.
setup is converted into S4 HANA database, and whatever the technical changes that are there, so there is a note or there is a sequence, there is a document provided by SAP how we need to convert SAP ECC into SAP S4 HANA module wise. So
So the
brownfield is
same time
nothing
the
but, go ahead, go
so
ahead.
the thing is like suppose I says like Ford decided to go through the like greenfield implementation and he asked me the question why they decided on the greenfield implementation. So I said they don't want complication with data, so they decided on they just decided to take the opening balances and move forward. Miss,
No, no, no.
why actually some companies deciding to go on the greenfield implementation? What is the reason behind that? They don't want to play with the data or something, or they don't want to uh, complication on the data migration or something. What is the reason actually?
It is not like that. It is based on the existing org structure may not be correct. They want to, restructure the existing org structure. They may feel that, we have lot of complications, issues on the existing ECC system, which we do not want to further carry forward into S4HANA. So instead, we prefer to have the new setup, reorganization of our existing org structure, and then we will build a new system with the new control points or with the change points that are decided based on the management decisions. But on the brownfield, if you are fine with your existing system performance, the processes are already set up, everything is working fine, you will straight away proceed with the brownfield. And there is something called blue field. Blue field is nothing but you are not converting everything into SAP S4 HANA according to HANA. There are certain things that are there are certain things which you are currently using. Without any changes, you will move on to S4 HANA, which means the customization of the code, whatever is currently working on ECC, you will migrate as it is to S4 HANA, where the limited corrections, limited conversions you are going to do with respect to HANA, that is your blue field. Like selected things only you will be converting according to HANA database, that is your blue field. If you are converting everything as per the S4 HANA requirement, that is your brown field, because certain Z reports and all may not be working when you go to S4 HANA system, because there are tables clubbed and all. So this is a technical point. I'll share a document on this, or I'll give you certain points that you need to refer. So this is a theoretical content basically.
Yeah, they definitely asking this question like when I said like greenfield implementation, and I was not able to like explain what is the advantage and disadvantage in between. That's what I explained. Maybe because one of the guy asked like he's working on already on S4HANA. He told me I asked the same question to him, and he said like they don't want to go with the whole data, so they decided to go with just opening balances in greenfield implementation. That's what he suggested me.
No, if you are going with that, then we need to talk about that the old whole system is reconfigured.
Okay.
Right from company code, chart of account, everything you are reconfiguring if you are going with greenfield.
So why there is, so you doing the same thing in the brownfield also, because you're going through the like taking the whole data and moving forward. So what that is the difference I'm not able to understand to
No,
explain
there
the
are
client.
certain programs.
Mm,
When these programs are there, SAP, what it will do from the existing database, it will copy all the settings automatically. You will not be doing all the settings. Your
it
customers, vendors, whatever the transaction data is there, will
uh,
get migrated. So it's a database conversion basically from the legacy database to HANA
uh,
database. There are certain programs, functionalities predefined by SAP. So when you are doing any migration based on the based on the brownfield, there is a set of checklist provided by SAP. Based on this checklist only, you need to migrate.
and what about the greenfield?
Greenfield is a fresh implementation. You're not going to take your existing SAP at all. Everything is a fresh implementation. There's no point
So
of you're
you
looking at your
config and
ECC
everything, the config and everything you need to be set up from the scratch. Is that
from
what you
from the
say?
scratch. Correct.
And you saying like in brownfield you don't need to do config on anything. You'll just
No, only the delta configuration you will be doing. The changes which are there from ECC to HANA, those configurations you will have to do. For this, there is a predefined checklist from SAP.
so why every client is not going through like go on brownfield? Why they are choosing the greenfield implementation? Some
No, no, no.
clients
Every client will go on brownfield only. Selected only limited clients will go on greenfield, where they feel that the existing setup is not up to the mark. They want to restructure the org. They want
okay, I
to,
got it.
reconstruct the organization structure.
Yeah, I got it. This
Yeah.
is the main point, the structure of the organization.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Yes.
Sir, by using Tally, we can directly file GST returns, TDS returns, and all, right? Is it possible in SAP, sir?
Yes. We have certain configurations for GST. This is country specific. Okay, we have certain nodes, certain configuration predefined by SAP for localization object for India. So based on that, if you maintain those configurations, you can perform everything from SAP.
Who will done all those? Functional
End
consultant?
users. No, end user.
Ajay,
So,
As a
I'm
consultant, we are not responsible for master data creation, transaction data posting, reports. Anything related to master, anything related to transaction, anything related to report, it is pure client, business, end user responsibility. If there are any problems, issues, that is where as a consultant you will step in.
sir, is that mean if I wanted to create rent GL, whether functional consultant will do or the end user by using FS00? Is this
At what
the
stage you want?
correct?
At, at what stage you wanted to create this rent GL account?
What stage means, sir?
During your project, after, before handing over system to the client, after handing over system to the client, when you want to create a new GL account?
Before only, sir.
Before handing over client the system, everything will be done by the end user, sorry, by the consultant. Once system is handed over to the client, all the master records, all the transactions will have to be created by end user, not by the consultant. Consultant will create this only when there are so many transactions. Let's say they have around 200 GLs to be created. One by one, it will take time. So in that situation, user will send a request to you. Based on this request, you are going to take an ID called firefighter ID. There is something called FFID or firefighter ID. As a consultant, any master record, any transaction record that you have to create in the production system, you are not supposed to create from your ID. You are strictly supposed to create this data from firefighter ID. With your user ID, there is not supposed to be any master. There is not supposed to be any transaction posted on the production system strictly. To handle these exceptions, you will be using firefighter ID.
So why
But I
like
think
that, sir? Is there any reason for that? And one more question, sir. Exactly what is the meaning for master data? Rent GL can also be called as a master data?
Yes. In order to create any transaction, you to create any transaction, you put a debit, you put a credit, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Apart from amount, whatever you put inside that is called as a master data. To write a debit credit, you need a GL account. GL is a master data. To put a debit credit, you may need a customer vendor. Customer vendor is a master data. You will need asset. Asset is a master data. You will assign cost center. Cost center is a master data. You will assign profit center. Profit center is a master data. You will assign internal order. Internal order is also a master data.
So
Without
if I
master
wanted to
data,
say,
without
sorry to
master
interrupt.
data, you will not be able to create a transaction.
Yeah, okay, sir. So if I wanted to say GL master data, is that mean all the GLs relating to general ledger like rent, transportation, administration, like these all?
GL
I
master
just wanted to
data
confirm, sir.
includes everything, main ledger, sub ledger. When you talk about GL includes everything.
Yeah, okay, sir. So I'm sorry. On same topic, I just wanted to confirm one thing. If I wanted to say customer master data, is that particularly meaning for one customer, all the details, or all the customers, whatever the business having, the data, customer master data means? Is that include all the customers?
All the customers. Whenever you talk about any master data, you are talking about master data as a whole. All the customers you are representing, not a single customer.
Sir, then what was I called a particular customer? Customer only or customer GL? How can I differentiate the data? This is customer master or customer? Is that account a transaction? What was it called, sir?
Customer is a master.
Uh, So again, I get confused. I just wanted to differentiate what was it called in group, customers in group, and customer, one customer alone. Particularly, I'm talking about in SAP terminology. What was it called?
Customer master only it is called as. There's only one term called customer master. If there are multiple,
So
you will not be using customers masters. You will not be using customer masters. Whenever you talk about customer master, you are representing the total customer. Otherwise, you are going to represent that customer name.
okay, sir. So with that, I'm understanding. In group or in single master, it was called customer master. That's it.
That's it. You call it as customer master only. We will not expand it. Whether it is one or two, we will not expand it. If you're talking about customer master, if it is one, that one is called as customer master. If there are 100 customers, 100 customers are also called as customer master. So there is no singular plural for it from SAP point of view. It is the master only. Whether it is one or whether it is multiple. If you are specifically talking about one particular, let's say rent, you need to specifically mention, I want rent GL master. So specifically talking, I want to have, let's say Ajay customer master, something like that. You need to specifically mention which master it is. Otherwise, you are representing master as a whole, complete.
Thank you so much, sir. I got the point. Thank you, sir.
Ajay, I have one more question. Like when you say basic configuration for the implementation, so there is so many teams. Like I can say for the GL one team lead is working, and for the business partner one team lead is working. So whose responsibility is like creating basic config like organization structure? Who will take that responsibility?
So your organization structure is divided based on the module. Let's say when you talk about org structure, you will
Hmm.
be talking about client. Under the client, you will say that you have operating
Company.
concern. Under the operating concern, you will mention that controlling area. Under the controlling area, multiple company codes.
Hmm.
Under company
Yeah.
code, you are going to have module specific. If you're talking about under
Hmm.
company code, they'll put plant, storage, location, and all. If you're talking about SD, there will be sales organization, distribution channel, division, so on. If you're talking about FI, you are going to put chart of account, fiscal year, posting period, leading ledger, non-leading ledger, currencies, all these points, profit center, cost center, everything will be included under your FICO baseline config.
So, like, you saying like a GL team lead will be configured this one or a business partner?
GL and all is called as business process configuration.
Hmm.
The chart of account, fiscal year, company code, this leading ledger, non-leading ledger, currencies, these are all called as baseline configuration.
So, if I say when I say okay, I'm working on business partner from the last 4 years, and if there is
If you say
implementation,
business partner, when you talk about business partner brings 3 points into the picture. One is your FI, one is your SD, third one is your MM. Because business partner
okay,
in SAP S4HANA represents customer, vendor, employee, or any other bank also. Let's assume that
hmm.
you're representing from HANA point of view. When you say BP, you may be representing customer, you may be representing vendor in general. If you're
Hmm.
representing a customer, then your customer has got two segments: customer related to finance, customer related to sales. Similarly, on the vendor, you have two segments: vendor related to finance, vendor related to logistics. Vendor related to finance, customer related to finance, you will be handling. Vendor related to logistics, consultant will be looking into it. Customer related to SD consultant will be looking into it. You cannot say that you handled completely business partner. You need to say finance point of view, the business partner you handled. If you look at any customer, if you look at any vendor, you have two segments: company code data
Hmm.
and purchasing data. Similarly, company code data, sales organization data. Correct?
Yeah.
You are responsible only for the company code data. For sales organization data, you are not responsible for it. SD consultant is responsible for it. Similarly, for purchasing organization data, you are not responsible for it. Consultant is responsible for it. Even when you are working on any project, when you say that you worked on master data, When you say this, if you say that you uploaded customer master, you uploaded vendor master. In reality, customer master is not uploaded by FI consultant. In reality, vendor master is not uploaded by FI consultant. Customer master is uploaded by SD consultant. Vendor master is uploaded by consultant. If you say you did this, then you will get a cross question. Why did you upload customer master? Why this was not uploaded by SD consultant? Because in reality, this is uploaded by SD consultant. Most of the sales that any organization does based on the sales order, correct?
Yeah,
And most of the purchases any organization does based on the purchase order. Am I correct?
that's right.
For you to create any sales order, your customer must be extended to a sales organization. To create any purchase order, your vendor must be extended to a purchase organization. Extension of a vendor to the purchase organization is responsibility. Extension of a customer to the sales organization is SD responsibility. So in any implementation project or in any project, when it comes to master record, it is uploaded by SD for customer, vendor by the consultant. You may be uploading only the finance related customer, finance related vendor, in short employee customer, employee vendor, or one time vendor. Apart from this, the remaining things will be uploaded by and SD consultant respectively. Even when you talk about, you need to clearly segregate these points. If you are not segregating this, it gives an opinion that you have not worked, because in reality not all these masters are uploaded by FI consultant. Even when it comes to BP configuration, your BP configuration related to customer is performed by the SD consultant. Your BP configuration related to vendor is performed by the consultant. If you are telling that you performed it, have a justification that why did you do it. You can say that I discussed with the naming convention BP grouping, and then we collectively discussed FI, and SD, and it is agreed that FI consultant will complete the BP setup. But not that I configured it. If you get a cross question, why BP settings are configured by you? Why this was not done by SD consultant? In general, this is done by SD. May I know any particular reason why you configured in your project? We should have some convincing answers or some justification which will make the other person feel okay. You got my point?
Yeah, I got your point. Like 2 minutes before he asked you question like master data creation FS00. We use LSMW for that, and you just provide the template to the end user. Is that right? Actually,
Yes, before going live, that is part of your cutover activity. Before you hand over system to the client, whatever it is will be created by the consultant, whether it is master data, whether it is transaction data, because system is not yet delivered or system is not yet handed over to the customer unless and until you go live. Unless and until you go live, everything is the consultant responsibility, whether it is configuration, master data, transaction data, reporting. As a consultant, we need to take care with our own ID until you go live, until you complete the hypercare support. Once you go live, let's say you are going live on July month. Now July month plus the one full month. So after July, your first month close will be what? August.
yeah.
So the team whoever implemented, the team who is part of the implementation must be supporting first 1 month or first quarter. This is called as hypercare support. So as a FICO consultant, if you are part of any implementation, if somebody is asking, have you worked on any support project, you cannot say no, because after implementation you must be providing hypercare support. Though this is not an official AMS support, but this is also support. As an implementation consultant, you will be supporting to the client for the first 1 month or for the first 3 months. In short, for the first month close or for the first quarter close. During this hypercare period, whatever you do, master record, transaction corrections, whatever, you will be doing on the production system directly with your user ID. Because until your hypercare period is completed, as a consultant, you have that provision, you have that leverage, that privilege to configure or make transactions, create master records directly in the production system with your ID. Once the cutover period is over, once the hypercare period is over, that is when the official support or AMS starts. Once the AMS is starting, consultant will no longer have access, or consultant is not supposed to create anything directly on the production with his or her ID. Any master record, any transaction record, or any corrections on the production system are strictly not allowed by the consultant. If you have to create any master record, if you have to create any transaction record directly in the production system, you have a user ID called firefighter ID. In short, we call it as FFID. You have to use firefighter ID to make any changes in the production system once hypercare period is completed.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you very much.
Uh, Sir, can we have a further discussion about the brownfield, greenfield, and bluefield in our upcoming session?
Yes, we will be having all these points, all the type of projects, what you will do in each of the project, and the TR movement. All these points we will be discussing in a separate session. Now, whatever we are discussing is only to get an idea that these things are there. I don't want you to start configuring blindly. I want you to know different points striking your mind before we actually start config, so that we are aware of different points, different things, different questions will strike, and you will be in a position to get clarifications for all of those.
Ajay, I have a question, please.
Yes.
Uh, this is regards the WhatsApp group. Is there going to be a separate link for the Saturday for the weekend class? And also, I subscribe to your channel, but also when I click join, it says that I have to pay. Is there a difference? I'm a little confused. Is that a
No, no,
different?
no. Don't do it as of now. Don't join that anything. I'll whatever I'll put there. I'll provide for free of cost. Don't subscribe to my. Don't join that option. I'll remove it at this month, and I'll remove it.
Okay. So
Okay.
is there going to be, so yes, so to track and differentiate the classes, is there going to be a separate link or a separate header for the weekend classes?
Yes, I'll create a separate link for weekend class from the next week onwards. Tomorrow also we will
Okay.
be connecting with the same link. From the next week, I'll create a separate link for both. Your link itself will tell that 8 p.m. weekend batch or the 9 p.m. regular batch.
No. I meant for the uploads, for the YouTube uploads.
Yes, it will be separate.
Okay.
It
Thank
will be
you.
separate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
And so, sir, one more thing I want to understand that, like, what is the agile methodology, waterfall methodology? Is it a part of the project manager side or it is a part of the FICO related? Like
This
we
is
have
from
to
the
be like,
project management side. So these points we will be talking when I talk about the different implementation methodology for project, ASAP methodology and Activate methodology. We will talk about all this: waterfall, Scrum, sprints, Agile, your ASAP, what exactly you will do at each stage. We will limit, we will restrict with respect to a FICO consultant, and then we will understand. I will not be explaining these points in general, but instead we will understand it from SAP FICO point of view. So that tomorrow when you're talking about these points, the other person should feel that yes, you worked on this project and these are the activities that you do if you are with your level of experience. What you will be doing exactly in this project preparation stage or blueprint, whatever the stage that you have in the project methodologies. This we will try to understand from the FICO point of view only.
okay, sir, thank you.
Okay,
Uh,
because if you understand it from the generic point of view, in the interview or when somebody is asking you these questions, they do not want to know the generic project methodology, because we are not giving interview for a project manager to explain what is going to happen in this methodology. We are going to be part of a team member in that project. As a team member in this project phase, maybe whatever the stages that you have based on each of your methodology, what was your role? That is what they specifically want you to explain.
Ajay, here I have one
Okay, sir,
concern.
thank you.
When
Yeah.
Ajay, I have one thing here actually. When you said like you this class is for like a consultant. But the issue is in US, like there is no opening for the just for the consultant. They are looking for the team lead plus senior consultants who can work on the floor. They don't want the person who just config. They want someone to lead the project and work as a senior consultant.
That's what
So
you're
there
going to
is
learn here.
still
It's not only the config. You'll get to know different points related to a project, what exactly will happen, what will happen before you do configuration, what will happen after you do configuration, how your users will raise the queries, questions, and how you are going to answer it, how your client will raise the different new change request, how you will take them, how you will configure. All these things you are going to learn.
yeah, I when I was seeing like today I realized like everything is there, but only thing is my concern is where the team is lead is coming in between implementation project and what the team is getting involved from the client side and from the implementation side. Means if you little bit like cover this also, it will be helpful for
Yes,
me.
as a lead, what exactly you will do is you are going to monitor whatever the points that we are discussing. All these points you will be monitoring. You will not be hands-on working on it. Let's say there is a requirement. Some user had raised a requirement, and then let's say it has gone to the support partner that is assisting you with the AMS. So what you are going to do, whether the user had raised this request in the respective ticketing tool or the email to the consultant, and is this ticket acknowledged within the time frame that you have as per SLA? If yes, is the solution provided, and is the problem that the user had raised, what severity it is? Is this high priority problem, or is this a normal priority problem? Is this related to what? So as a lead, you are going to understand, you are going to monitor, you are going to have calls with your internal team. You are also going to have calls, meetings scheduled with your support partner to make sure what they are actually working on, what are the improvement areas, what are the points that are taking long time than they expected. All these kind of a points that you are going to work on, and you are going to provide a report to the internal management or to the internal the IT department, where what issues are handled in this month, how many tickets have come, how many improvements points have worked on, what are the new developments that you are planning, what new projects are in pipeline. These kind of points you will be working as a lead.
Okay. So is it possible, Ajay, like there is so many kinds of like testings in the project. So you can take one session only on the testing and one
Yes.
session on the hypercare and one session on the month-end activities, year-end activities and pre-migration activities and post-migration activities. If you can segregate the classes in the topic.
Yes, we will be discussing these points.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ajay.
Yeah.
Sir, the recordings which you are giving after the class, will it be there or you'll be removing it after some time?
No, no, it will be there. I'll maybe next week I'll create a drive and then I'll upload in the drive, or I'll be uploading all these recordings in YouTube as private videos.
Okay, so we can refer it afterwards. So it will be there,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. We can refer. When I share, I'll be sharing the links. Now we are only on the initial discussions, right?
Okay, right from the day one, you'll be sharing, right?
Yes, yes. You will get it. You can
Mm.
download it and keep it with you.
Yes, sir.
Jay, where can I download it from YouTube or into
I
separate
will
link
share. I
in
will create a folder. I'll upload these recordings in the folder. I'll give the access to it.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Because in YouTube we have download when we downloaded some videos it will left only for 30 days now. That's why I got it out.
No, no, no. I'll provide the links. All right, fine then. So we'll close for today. We'll connect it tomorrow at the same time, 8 p.m. IST, with the same link. From the next week, I'll segregate the link for weekdays session separately, for weekend session separately. As I said, no restriction. You can attend both weekdays and weekend. But the only point is make sure that you're not raising your questions from weekdays on the weekend. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
All
sir.
right then.
Thank you.
So we'll connect
Good night.
tomorrow at the same time. Good night.